And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Levy versus Levy. Step forward, please.
Investment advisor Perry Levy is suing his ex-wife, bookkeeper Gloria Levy, for an unpaid loan for her dog's surgery. Gloria says the money was a gift.
Mr. Levy, the defendant is your former wife, and
Yes.
it is your claim that you made a loan to her after you divorced, much later, for some veterinary bills for an animal that she had.
Yes.
And Mrs. Levy said, while she acknowledges that you gave her some money, she said you gave it to her. This was not a loan, this was a gift because you were being a nice guy. When were you married?
I was married in November '78.
And when were you and Mrs. Levy divorced?
June of '94, I think, Your Honor.
You have children?
Yes, one.
How old?
19.
And tell me about this loan for the vet bill.
On about the 13th or 14th of November last year, she came to me kind of panicking and upset because her dog Oscar had a tumorous growth in the throat. She said that the dog needed surgery or it might die. And I said, well, can you pay me back? And she said, not right away. Within a week or two, I can give you some money when a check comes in. I said, okay, fine. I said I had to borrow the money on the time on a credit card because I didn't have it available at that time. She said that she'd pay me payment.
How much did you give her?
I gave her $1,500 and there was a $45 check advance fee. She repaid me $500 on the 20th of November. The check was made on the 15th of November. Late November, early December, she said that she'd give me another $300 to $500 when she got it. At that time, just prior to that, we had a problem with our son. We had a disagreement over it. I guess she got upset at the way I was handling it, so my numbers were blocked. My home was blocked from calling her, and she disconnected her answering machine.
Where does your son live?
He lives with me.
How long has he lived with you?
He's lived with me since June of last year.
Prior to that?
He was living with his mother.
I'll hear you.
Yes, I did call him regarding my dog Oscar, and I said the surgery would be, as far as I knew, was about $1,500, and I didn't have the money, and I didn't want him to die, and he said he'd help me out with that. I only needed $1,000 because it was only like $889, and so I gave him back the $500, you know, because I didn't need it all, and I wanted to thank him for helping me out, you know, for my dog, and you know, because he understood me.
Why don't you give him the rest?
Because I'm not working, I'm on workman's comp. I don't have any other income but what's coming from that.
What is coming in from workman's compensation?
$900.
A month?
Yes. So I can't afford to have other expenses and loans and stuff, so I'm just
Well, why don't you give him $10 a month?
Because I thought it was given to me as a gift.
It wasn't given to you as a gift. You know it wasn't given to you as a gift.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't, Mrs. Levy. No, it wasn't, Mrs. Levy. It was not given to you as a gift. Madam, why would you stiff him for the money?
Because I thought he was doing it out of the
It
kindness
had
of
to
his-
do with your son. Why would you block his number?
I blocked his number not because of my son. It's because of not because of him. It's because of my son. The way my son's been asking me for money all the time, which I don't have money. He's 19 years old. He should be out getting a job. I don't have the money.
Why did you block his number?
I blocked his number because my son lives there, and I was blocking a number for him. He knows where I live. I'm only like 3 or 4 blocks from the house. If you
Your
needed
Honor,
to get a hold
my
of.
office number was also blocked, and in fact, it is still blocked. I tried to call her on it
You want
the
to
other
explain
day.
that to me?
I didn't know I blocked off his office number.
I don't believe you.
Well, I didn't do it.
I don't.
I know you don't believe me, but
I
it's the
don't
truth.
believe you.
Yeah.
And I think that the right thing for you to have done was say, I can't give you much, but I'll give you $10 a month until I'm back to work.
You wouldn't accept that.
Yes, Your
No,
Honor,
you would not.
I would have accepted
$10?
$75 to $100
See-
a month, something like that, because
See-
the interest on the $1,000 is $11. I'm an investment advisor. I know.
He owes me money for my car stereo that I had bought.
I don't want to hear about
Yeah,
it.
well, see, he owes me.
I don't
but
want to hear
I let
about
him go with it.
Listen
so.
to me. I don't want to hear about it.
That's
I don't want to hear about it. You have a 19-year-old child. Your 19-year-old child's living with his father. I don't know whether he's a problem or not a problem. I assume that the reason he left your house is because he presented a problem to you. Is that right?
No.
Yes, it is.
Let me put it to you this way, madam. I have to make a judgment as to whether I believe your former husband that he made a loan to you in your time of need, or whether I believe your story that this was a gift out of the goodness of his heart. I believe him, and I do not believe you. I don't believe the fact that you blocked his number both at home and at work by mistake, at home because you didn't want your child to call you. And I believe that if you were an honorable person, what you should have done is you should have said to him, I can't give you the money all at once, but I know that it's a responsibility and I'm going to give you something. And you chose not to do that. And I believe you probably chose not to do that over an incident involving your child. So you owe him $1,045, judgment for the plaintiff.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
You know, I thought that she was going to pay me back over a period of 2 or 3 weeks, and the lack of communication ended us up here.
I've never, disliked him or anything. We've always been friends. It's just under circumstances, this was what happened.
There was a period of about 5 weeks where I couldn't reach her by phone, or my son. I asked my son to have, or both of our sons, to have him call me, or have his mother call me, and it never happened.
She's the judge, and her decision is her decision.
School teacher Sherry King is suing her ex-boyfriend, bartender Keith Collier, for damage to her car and a series of unpaid loans.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 363 on the calendar in the matter of King versus Collier. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Miss King, according to what I've read, the defendant was your former boyfriend. First, you say about a little more than a year ago, he had an accident with your car, which you paid for, which he said he would take care of. Then you claim to have expended a certain amount of money for remodeling of a condo that he had purchased, also with the agreement that he would pay you back. When you broke up, somehow you got him to sign a promissory note for all this money, or I think $3,200. Mr. Collier says the following. He said that you caused the accident to the car yourself, that he never borrowed any money from you, that the remodeling that you did to the condo, which had belonged to his uncle, was your own choice. The only reason he says that he signed this promissory note was that you were holding some money of his that you had gotten your hands on. You told me you wouldn't give him the money unless he signed the note. So he signed the note under duress. That's your defense.
Yes, Your Honor.
When was this accident with the car?
It was back in July of 2001.
And tell me about the accident with the car.
We were leaving a parking garage in Ybor City, and we were looking for the ticket that you give the attendant whenever you leave, and we couldn't find it, and we had pulled in already, so he went to back up, and as he backed up, he tore the whole bumper off the front of the car.
So it's the bumper that you're talking about?
Correct.
You remember that, sir?
Yes, Your Honor. I don't remember it that way, though.
Who was driving?
I was driving.
Okay. So do you have insurance?
Yes.
So did the insurance cover the damage?
No, my deductible was $500, and it only cost $335.
Okay. Did you agree to pay that?
I never agreed to pay that, Your Honor.
So give me your version of the events. You are driving, the bumper comes off the car. How did the bumper come off the car?
I actually wasn't driving. We had gone to the
You
parking...
just told me you were driving.
Oh, I was in the driver's seat. We had just backed out of the parking garage spot that I was in, that she had parked in.
Yeah.
And the angle that I pulled back, that, having no idea how she had left the wheel cocked, it caught on the edge of the wall and it ripped her bumper off.
The wall didn't move, sir. The car moved.
I agree, Your Honor.
Good. Okay. So that's $335. Did you ever say that you would pay to have that bumper repaired?
No, Your Honor. The reason I agreed or told her I wouldn't pay her back for that is the fact
Would
that...
or would not?
Would not. Is because she was drunk. Too drunk to drive, asked me to drive, handed me the keys, and that's the only reason I was driving. I was trying to do her a favor.
Is it true that you gave him the keys to the car because you had been drinking?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Don't drink. What's next?
I had loaned him, actually first he started living with me and he agreed that he would pay a third of the rent and a third of the utility bills.
For how many months?
Just for 1 month.
And what's the rent?
It was $800 and we divided it and he would have paid $266 for the rent and it was $74 for a third of the utility bills. And he also borrowed money to pay his car payments and he borrowed money to pay his cell phone bills.
What was his car payment?
I don't have that written down exactly.
$158.73, Your Honor.
And I paid it quite a few times. And I probably have paid it more times than I had even...
I can't keep track of that. But what kind of a way is that to have a loan, madam?
Because I was dating him, and that's things that you do.
And then finally, we have the stuff for the apartment. Let's hear about the stuff for the apartment.
It was for a condo that his uncle owned, and we had agreed that he would move in. I was still living with my roommate, so I couldn't move out at the time. And I said that we agreed that whenever time came that my lease would be up, that I would buy the place from his uncle, and that's why I would do the remodeling, and that he would also pay for that.
That you would buy the place from his uncle?
Mm-hmm.
You?
Yes, later.
You, not the two of you, you would buy the place for his uncle, so you were going to remodel it for when you bought it?
Correct.
Had you discussed that with his uncle?
No,
Just with him?
just with him.
Well, what made you think his uncle wanted to sell it?
He discussed him buying it from his uncle.
He owned or leased it to me, Your Honor. So he was selling it to me.
And you discussed selling it to her?
Yeah, yes, Your Honor, yes.
And that's why she decided to remodel it. Is that right?
Correct, Your Honor.
And then you decided not to sell it to her. Is that right?
No, she left, Your Honor.
Or if she left. Whatever. Listen, I'm telling you this, Miss King. I'm unimpressed with all of these loans that you claim. Without a promissory note, the one that you say you have,
Yes, I do, Your
you
Honor.
wouldn't get any money. I'm going to tell you why. Because if you remodel this place in anticipation of you purchasing it, so you were really remodeling it for yourself, there was no loan to him of that money. You remodeled it because you were going to live there. That was your foolishness. You don't remodel a place until the title of it is in your name.
Correct.
You want to do it fast? You do it fast, that's your problem. So now I'm going to take a look at the promissory note. Okay, so I have a promissory note for $3,200, sir, that you signed.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, let me hear the circumstances surrounding you signing this promissory note.
She left on the 4th, and when she left, she had some cash in my with
4th
her.
of?
March. When she did so, she didn't realize, I think, that she had some cash with her that I needed for my mortgage payment due on the 7th.
Mortgage for what?
To my uncle. To,
You mean your rent?
well, he's taking it off the principal, so he's selling. He's holding the note for me. But the mortgage payment was due on the 7th, and on the 4th, she left with my cash. I couldn't raise the $350.
How did she get your cash?
I was having her hold it for me. I think we were going to deposit
Could
in
you
the bank.
speak slowly, sir? I can't follow
sorry.
you. I'm old.
Yes, Your Honor. She had my cash with her because she was holding it for me so that I would not spend it.
How much cash was she holding?
$350.
Okay, go ahead.
And on the 8th, a day after my mortgage was late, she agreed to go ahead and give me the cash, but only if I would sign the promissory note. Since I know their means of getting the cash that quickly, I went ahead and signed the note.
Did you have his money?
Yes, Your Honor. He had been staying at my place and left it.
And so you took the money and said you want your money back? Is that right?
Well, it was in
No,
my...
you want your money back? You're going to sign this note.
Correct, Your Honor.
Is that what happened?
Yes.
That's duress. You can't do that.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And later today,
She wanted you to get out of the car?
Yes, that way she could fight me. She grabbed my windshield wiper. She smashed it because she was really mad and broke it. And then with her both fists, she was really pissed. Boom, then my car.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sherry King says her ex-boyfriend, Keith Collier, owes for damage to her car and unpaid loans. Keith says he owes her nothing.
As I said to you before, Miss King, but for the promissory note, I would find that there was never a loan made. With regard to the automobile, you were drunk, which is the reason he drove. He's backing out of a spot, not purposefully.
He wasn't backing out of a spot. He was backing out of the actual toll booth that he
Whatever.
had pulled into. I did not pull into there, Your Honor.
Whatever it was. But for the fact that the two of you had broken up, there's not a question in my mind that we would not be here over this bumper damage to the car. When you drive a car, you drive someplace, you go out, you're not supposed to get drunk so you can't drive at home. Okay? I don't know how much he had been drinking that evening, whether he had been drinking more than you or less than you. I assume that he had been drinking some too, which means that you're both stupid. Then we come to the bills. Bills that you say, well, he said he would pay me some rent, and then I paid for his car payment. I paid a lot of times. I paid his car payment more than once. I'm not sure about how many times. I don't get involved with that. This is a court. You're supposed to say, on September 1st, 1999, I paid a car payment. On September 16th, the year 2000, I made a car payment for him. I have that all written down here. This is his car payment. He asked me to please advance it, and if I would, he would pay me back in a month. That's not what this is all about. This is about a boyfriend and girlfriend situation where you give him money. I don't know whether he ever gave you money.
No, Your Honor.
Probably not. Well, that means that you're not too... Right? The only thing that you thought that you did that was clever was having him do the promissory note for all this money that you thought he owed you. The only problem is you forced him to sign it. You were withholding his property. And if you withheld his property and said, unless you sign this note, I'm not going to give you the property, that is duress. So you get zippo, nada, nothing. Your case is dismissed. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Just hopefully no one will ever have to deal with him the way I had to deal with him,
I'm glad to see that justice was served.
because he's a loser and he will scam anyone out of anything.
I feel bad that Ms. King feels like she was ripped off and misled by me.
Every week he would say that he would pay me the money, and then he would say, oh, I spent it on this or I spent it on that, and never came through with it.
I'm sorry that I had to come to a court battle. She could have settled it outside very easily.
Don't give money to anyone unless you have anything signed, and don't deal with idiot con artists like that.
Worked out pretty well for me, didn't it?
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of AG versus Horry, step forward, please.
Rebecca Agee and her fiancé James Crane are suing their former friends Scott Horry and his wife Sarah for moving expenses and the value of personal property. The Horrys are countersuing for lost wages and emotional distress.
Mr. and Mrs. Agee, you and the defendants had been good friends. According to you, you were living in Oregon. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And both couples decided that they would be better off in their lives if they relocated to Iowa. Now, who came from Iowa?
We did, Your Honor.
So you agreed to sort of split the costs of moving and travel together, and once you got to Iowa, Mr. and Mrs. Horry were going to help you find a job. I don't know whether you were going to live together, but hopefully you would both live happily ever after in Iowa.
Okay.
Well, it didn't work out that way, and according to you, things turned sour on the trip. You claimed that the Horrys owe you for expenses, property that they kept, mental anguish, and you also want them to pay for your trip back from Iowa to Oregon because it didn't work out. They say that they thought everything went along just fine. They have a counterclaim because they say that you aggravated them.
Breathe.
Breathe. All right. Let me hear it succinctly.
We thought that they were really good friends of ours when we met them. We moved into 10 Mile, Oregon, and they were our neighbors, and we invited them over many times for everything.
Let's cut to the chase. You decided to move to Iowa with them.
We moved to Iowa with them. When we got to their home in Iowa, they were rude to us. They put us in a small room with 2 cat boxes. I also have he's almost 8 months old now, my son. When we got there, we had no money. They were supposed to pay us for half of the U-Haul.
And they said, how much?
$117.50. And they said that we owed them money instead.
What did they owe you money for?
We paid for everything, including the trailer. We agreed upon that we would also give them a place to stay, give them a job, and we did all of that. Above and beyond,
Your Honor.
when they had reached Colorado, when they ran out of money, I had gone...
They ran out of money in Colorado?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor. His parents helped them out to get gas, and they came up to Wyoming
And
finally
met us where we
and
were
met us
supposed to
there.
meet.
Did you need to borrow some money from his parents? That's easy to find out, so just answer my question.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
And how much money did you take from his parents?
Somewhere around
$33.
You mean the two of you were traveling with a new baby with absolutely no money? Now, wouldn't it have been more prudent to stay in Oregon and save a little more money? Save $500, $1,000. Save it up so that you're not driving around with an 8-month-old baby with no money.
We had the money, ma'am. We ended up paying for the U-Haul. Mr. Horry paid for the deposit on the U-Haul.
Are you saying $117? Is that what
No.
you're talking?
That's
How
half
much?
of it.
That's half of it. The full amount was $230-something, I believe.
Yes.
We would have had the full amount if they would have given us the money when we got there to make it all the way.
You're just not following me.
I'm sorry.
That's a big trip to make.
Yes, it
I mean,
is.
unless things are so terrible in Oregon that you weren't surviving there.
We were hoping for a brand new start, something new. They guaranteed him a job when
You
we got
can't
there.
guarantee anything. No, you don't rely on anybody for anything.
Yeah, we've learned that the past
Well, you
couple
don't.
of months.
All right. His parents gave you $30 for gas. Did you ever pay him back?
No.
We haven't made it that far
Okay.
yet.
What's next?
When they reached Cheyenne, Wyoming, I went up to Becky, knowing they had no money left, and said, would you rather me pay for the rest of your gas to get to Iowa since you have no more money left? And that was the new agreement.
Okay, and
I
you had
looked
no
at
money
her.
for, just a second, and you had no money for gas.
Right.
So how much did you pay for gas for their car?
Approximately around $200. And we also were paying for food, which was a new agreement, so we had no problem with that.
And we
What
are
was the
not
new-
suing for that.
Okay, so it's clear to me you had no money
Yes, Your Honor.
because you had to borrow $30 from his parents. And how many days were you on the road after you borrowed $30 from his parents?
Less than a day.
Less than a day.
And then you got to the house?
No, we met in Cheyenne and we drove.
How many days was it that you lived in the house?
We were there for a little over 24 hours.
How much did you spend in gas? I'm trying to figure out if we've used up this $117.
We have receipts, Your Honor.
I'm asking you.
From what point, Your Honor? I don't understand.
From the point you ran out of money.
We ran out of money in Longmont to
How did
Iowa.
you eat? Who fed you?
We stopped for food once with them. And
what
that
about
was
when
it.
you got to the house? You said they put you
They
in a room.
They had no food at the house.
Yeah.
They had no electricity. We had to clean out the refrigerator.
Just a second. So how did you eat that day?
We didn't.
We went and bought them Pizza Hut.
Yes,
We bought them a whole bunch of food. The very next day, we also went out and bought them a big barbecue to have food, and we provided their baby with formula.
Does any of that sound right? You had no money.
No, ma'am.
How did your baby eat?
I had formula for him when I left
I'm not
Oregon.
bothering with this. They're not paying for your trip home. They're not paying for any of the moving expenses from Oregon to Iowa. They've already taken care of that. Now, you want to tell me, what about the value of personal property you say they kept? What personal property did they keep?
They pawned our television set and...
TV. What happened to their television sets?
Yes, we did pawn it because she gave us every permission to sell all their stuff when they left, because they left and they had no intentions to come back, and she made sure that I kept her green tub. She had a green tub full of personal belongings, like pictures, birthday cards, and stuff like that, that she had said meant so much to her. So I promised her and I swore to her we would not get rid of that stuff.
And for 2 days straight, it was, what do we do with your belongings?
That's
the first
not true,
night,
Your Honor.
it was...
He asked me how long I should keep it.
The first night, I understand everything was in an outrage. She had said, I don't care what you do with my stuff, just don't get rid of my big green bucket.
Now, how much did you sell the TV for?
Somewhere around $80-some is what we got for it at the pawn shop.
Okay. Now, let me hear your counterclaim.
We're suing because, or countersuing because James had made threats to us, to our vehicles, and to our home
I don't want to hear
when
you.
everything turned violent, and he was starting to push his way around, and we had to have him escorted off the property twice.
Your Honor.
Our neighbors,
When was that?
It had to have been in August. I'd say around the 25th.
And you haven't seen him since?
No, we haven't.
Shh, speak now. And you haven't had any contact with him in many months, is that right?
Nope, not except for
What
through
else?
you. And loss of wages is all we're suing
What loss
for.
of wages for what?
We think it is a waste to be here.
You should have said no. What, no isn't part of your vocabulary?
No.
There you go. Somebody calls you and says, would you like to have your dispute resolved before Judge Judy Scheindlin? And you say, no, I'm sorry, I don't want to miss work. There you go.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So you get nothing.
Ma'am.
Tipo.
That's cool.
Good. Cool. You get $80 for your TV. And go. Have a happy life. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Everybody was all stressed out.
It didn't work out.
They don't respect other people's belongings.
I feel that I've been disrespected.
They don't respect other people.
I wish we could have mended the friendship.
They care only about themselves.
I do believe in my heart that we're both good people.
Nuclear plant supervisor Stephen Stumbo is suing the mother of his son's friend, department store greeter Pamela Kinslow, for damage to his truck. Stephen claims Pamela's daughter, 15-year-old Angela Jones, borrowed the vehicle without permission and wrecked it.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 452 on the calendar in the matter of Stumbo versus Winslow.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. Stumbo, you are the owner of a truck.
Yes, ma'am.
Your son had been using the truck
Yes, ma'am.
on the day of this incident. What day was it?
It's November 16th on a Saturday.
According to your complaint, the defendant, who has a daughter,
Yes, ma'am.
took possession of your truck and crashed it. You want the defendant to be responsible for the damage caused by her daughter to your truck.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you weren't there when this accident occurred on November 16th.
No, ma'am.
And you weren't there.
No, ma'am.
Who was there? Is that your son?
This is my son here, the closest to me.
Which one's your daughter?
Angela, the one in the red.
Tell me your first name.
Matt.
Where were you, Matt, that night on the 16th of November?
I was at work. When I got off work, me and Eric decided to go ride around for a few minutes.
What kind of work were you doing?
I work at Little Caesars.
Was your friend with you at Little Caesars before it closed?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he work there too?
No, ma'am.
So he was just waiting for you?
Yes, ma'am.
Then you decided to go for a ride around town?
Yes, ma'am.
Where'd you end up?
Back at Little Caesars.
When did you see Angela?
Oh, 7:30.
Where?
At Little Caesars parking lot.
Were you supposed to meet her? Did you have an appointment to meet her?
No, ma'am. I was just coming over there to ride her moped.
Who was she with?
She was by herself.
She was all by herself in the parking lot at 7:30 at night?
She was by herself at the time when I went to her and asked if I could ride her moped.
There wasn't anybody else in the parking lot, is what you're telling me.
There was people around, but there was no one close enough for her or anyone to hear what me and her were talking about.
That's not what I asked you. Were there other kids in the parking lot?
Yes, ma'am.
How many other kids were in the parking lot?
50, 40, 50 people.
There were a lot of people there.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
That's what I want to know. I mean, I'm trying to create a picture for myself, Matt. This was a whole group of kids, 50 kids, and she happened to be one of those 50 kids, and you saw her standing there, and she was near her moped.
Yes, ma'am.
And you knew her from before?
Yes, ma'am. I knew her from her letting people ride her scooter.
And that's the only way you know her?
Yes, ma'am.
So she's a very generous girl.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you stop your car with your friend,
Eric.
and you say to Angela, can I ride your
scooter?
And she said,
Yes.
good. Then what happened?
I left on the scooter.
And where was Eric?
In the truck. He asked to stay in the truck so we could listen to music. It was kind of cold that night. I said, okay. I turned the keys backwards. I got out, and I asked Angie if I could ride her moped. She said yes, and I left.
And then what happened?
And then, I don't know. I wasn't there. I drove off.
You drove off?
Yes, ma'am.
Then we're going to hear from Eric. Right, Eric? So you're sitting in there listening to music. What music were you listening to?
All kinds.
Classical?
Oh, ma'am.
So you weren't listening to all kinds.
Oh.
And you're sitting in the passenger seat?
Yes, ma'am.
What happened?
After Matt left, Angie got in the truck, started it, went to back up, asked her what she was doing. She said Matt said she could drive his truck. I said, all right. I really didn't believe it, but by the time we were out of our parking space, I got my seatbelt on, she went to pull out, and we got hit.
You got hit by whom?
A little family in a Ford Explorer truck.
Means somebody hit you?
Yes.
Where? On the side of the truck?
Towards the front left of the truck.
Then what happened?
After we backed the truck up, I got out. Angie came over to me saying she didn't know what to do. She grabbed me by the side and said, I'll do anything if you take the blame for it. And then Matt pulled up.
Go ahead.
She went over to Matt and crying, pleading, and telling him she was so sorry. Matt asked her what she did. And then everybody cleared away from his truck, and he seen that she had wrecked it.
Let's hear your version.
After Matt got off work, we always go out to the strip on the weekends, and I normally let people drive my moped. And they were out there, and Matt did ask me if he could drive my moped, and I said sure as soon as Shane gets through. And then Matt came back, and I gave him my keys, and I go, hey, Matt, can I drive your truck? He goes, yeah, if Eric will ride with you. And I go,
yes, if Eric will ride with you.
yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
And then I asked Eric, I go, will you ride with me? And he goes, I don't know about riding with a female that I've never rode with before. And I go, come on, it'll be okay. And so then we got in the truck, and I told him to put on his seatbelt, and then we had to turn off the music because I didn't like to drive with music on. And I backed out of the parking spot and went to like the road, and I was waiting to turn, and there was a bunch of cars, and he goes, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm not a very experienced driver, so I'm going to wait. And then there was a black Ford Explorer coming, and they had their right blinker on, so I thought they were going to turn, so I proceeded to pull out. And I hit the vehicle then, and then I asked him what I should do, and he said, well, back up and park the truck. So I did. And about that time, I was like, where's Matt, y'all? And they're like, he's in the parking lot somewhere on your moped. And I was like, well, we need to get him. And so then he came back, and I was like, Matt, I had wrecked your truck. I go, I don't know what to do. And then we seen that the cop was over there, and so we all walked over to the other vehicle where the cop was. And then we decided to make a false police report, saying Matt was driving. That way his insurance would cover it. And then Officer is a friend of mine, and so that night I went to the police department and talked to
about the accident, and I told him the truth, that I was really driving. And he explained to me about the trouble that I could get into if I didn't tell the truth. So I decided the next night to go back to the police department, and I talked to Officer, which was the officer that took my statement about what had really happened. Then the next day, Matt and his dad went down to the police department, told their side of the story. But that Monday at school, Matt and I were talking in the hallway. Everyone told me that he wanted to talk to me. And so I got out of class and went in the hallway, and we decided that we were going to tell Matt's dad that I just took the truck without permission so Matt wouldn't get in trouble. But when his dad started going to the cops and saying that I stole the vehicle and we knew that I was going to get in trouble, I said, Matt, maybe we shouldn't do this. And he wouldn't change the story. And that night I talked to Eric, and Eric was like, well, I'm not going to lie for him. And so I can't believe they're actually standing up here and lying.
You do know these two people made up a story about who was driving.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were there when they made up the story, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And the reason they made up the story is because your friend wanted to make sure that his insurance would cover the damage. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And then Angela decided she'd better come clean and tell the truth.
Yes, ma'am.
And you have insurance, Mr. Stumbaugh, is that correct?
I have liability insurance on the truck. And
Now,
Pam Kinslow verbally agreed to pay for these damages to my truck before the repairs were done to it.
Oh, well, that's a different story.
And my son came to me on Monday and told us what had really happened as far as Angie driving the truck. I mean,
well, what did he tell you?
He told us that Angie had that he wasn't even in. He had to tell us something. His conscience
Did he
was...
tell her that? Did he tell you that he had given Angie permission to drive the truck? But he did.
No, I don't believe so.
Oh, yes, he did. I know you don't believe it, but I'm telling you he did.
She said that she gave Matt permission to ride the scooter. At that point, why would he even need to let her drive his truck? I mean,
Mr.
he already had
Stumbaugh,
permission.
because your son said, can I drive your moped? And she said, can I drive your truck? Sure, you can drive my moped. Is it okay if I drive your truck? And he said to her, as long as Eric will go with you. Oh. And Eric went with her. And I don't care whether you believe it or not. If you don't believe it, you're thick. Because that's what happened. He knows it, and I know it, and he knows it. And the fact that your son gave you a whole lot of who shot John doesn't mean that you have to believe it, sir. You don't have to believe it. That doesn't make her any less responsible for damaging your truck.
Ma'am.
But I don't want you to think for 1 second that I believe this bull story that your son gave you. And if you do, you're a fool. And you don't look foolish to me.
Thank you.
Now, you tell me when Miss Kinslow agreed to pay for the damage to the truck.
I called her a few days after the accident to tell her, make sure that Angela had told her she was driving my truck. I had got a general idea.
Angela told her because the only reason that your son told you was because she had already gone to the police with the truth. You understand that, don't you? Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am. Could I say one thing about that? When my son told us that Angie was driving the truck, and we went to the police station the next day, the police had no idea about it. When we went on the next day, they had no idea she was driving the truck. She's saying that she had...
George, let's go back. Matt?
Yes, ma'am.
How come you went to the police station and told your father that Angie was driving?
I felt bad. When Dad said that it was going to be $22,000 worth of damage to my truck, he was going to have to pay for it. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat. And at school, I told Angie I was going to tell my mom and dad the truth, and I had no idea that she said she'd went to the police officer.
Did she tell you I already told the police?
No, ma'am, I had no clue.
When you discussed it with her at school the next day, had she already been to the police?
She says she has, I don't know.
She says she had?
Yes, that's what she says right now.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today...
He made me a little nervous because he had the big stick. They weren't playing stickball or anything, so I kind of kept my eye on him. And then the next morning, my car was keyed.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 17-year-old Matthew Stumbaugh says former friend, 15-year-old Angela Jones, borrowed his truck without permission and wrecked it. Angela claims Matthew lied to the police.
Tell me when she promised to pay you for the damage to the truck.
About a little over 2 weeks after the accident, I had already gotten 2 estimates. I had called Pam, I had told her what the 2 estimates were. I took the truck to the last body shop. I got the estimate. It was the lowest estimate. I told him, I want you to do the work. I called Pam that night, Tuesday night. I told her that I'd got the last estimate. It was for $2,074.18. She asked me for directions to the body shop. I told her where the body shop was at, how to get there, and she said, I'll get back in touch with you, or I'll go to the body shop to just pay the bill there by Friday. And then I repeated back to her. I said, you're telling me you will either get in touch with me to pay these damages, or you will go to the body shop, pay the bill, one or the other, by Friday. She said, yes. I said, thank you, and I hung up.
All right, now let's hear what the conversation was.
He called me numerous of times at my home, just over and over again, and I told him that I wasn't going to do anything of this because I had not seen any estimates. I did not get to see the vehicle to see if it was all freshly damaged or some other damage to it before.
Why didn't you go and look at it?
I did not know where they lived, and he asked me where the body shop was. Yes, ma'am.
Don't give me a lot of baloney.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't give me a lot of baloney. If you want to see the vehicle, you get in your car and you go and look at the vehicle.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
if you want to see estimates, that's what you say. I would like to see estimates of the damage. Your daughter already told you that she wrecked the car,
Yes,
the
ma'am.
truck. So you knew it was wrecked, and it
Yes,
wasn't
ma'am.
wrecked before she got in it.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And if he calls, and when you say, well, I haven't seen any estimates, that suggests to him that you're going to take care of it.
Well, he said, you know, when I said that, he had already taken the truck to the body shop to have it repaired.
That was weeks later.
Yes, ma'am.
And you said he kept calling you and
he
calling
kept
you.
calling me. And
so
he
why
came.
didn't you take care of it? What did you expect him to do? Did you ever call him?
I
Did
called,
you ever call him and
yes,
say to him,
ma'am,
I'm coming over?
No, ma'am, I did not, but
Why
I
not?
did return his call a couple of times, and then he came up to my work once, was harassing me there, and I asked
It's not
him if he
harassing
could
you. He
go
wants you to do
outside.
something.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me ask you this question, madam.
Yes, ma'am.
Let us say that your daughter gives old Matt over here permission to drive her moped, and he crashes it and destroys it. Who's responsible?
He should be.
Right. So what are we talking about here? What are we talking about?
The damages to his truck.
Right, $2,000. That's what he paid to have it fixed. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He said he didn't want to turn anything into his insurance company because his insurance company would go up on his son.
Insurance was never an issue, and she knows insurance wasn't ever an issue.
I'm 15 years old. I didn't know what to do.
I won't lie ever again.
I have taught her to tell the truth, and they were just scared.
I'm glad Judge Judy saw it the way she did.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Austin versus Lutz. Step forward, please.
Melanie Austin is suing 18-year-old Jeffrey Lutz for medical bills after Jeffrey accidentally cut her son with a switchblade. Melanie's son, 17-year-old Ryan, is a witness for Jeffrey.
Miss Austin, it is your claim that your son was injured by a knife that was being held by the defendant.
Yes, ma'am.
You weren't present when this happened.
Right.
But from what I've read, you believe that it was an accident, but your son was injured, and
Right.
you believe that the defendant should be responsible for paying half the medical costs that you incurred. Mr. Lutz says that he felt terrible about what happened, and he did, in fact, give you some money, about $600. Is that right?
$700.
Seven.
And he doesn't feel as if he should have to give you any more money. How much were the medical bills?
All totaled $8,751.
Where's your son?
He's the witness for the defendant.
Oh. So I guess you're going to tell me about what happened, right?
Yes.
Why don't you stand up? You're a witness for him.
Yes.
Do you live with your mom?
No, ma'am.
How old are you?
17.
Who do you live with?
One of my friends next,
How come you don't live with your mother?
she kicked me out
When?
nearly a month ago.
Why?
I have no idea.
Want me to tell you?
I do.
Well, at 16, he quit going to school because he was getting ready to have a baby, and he wanted to go to work and support his son. So he quit school. He didn't get a job. Finally, he went to GED courses, never took his GED. He got a job here and there, and when he got fired from his last job, he wasn't paying rent, and he wasn't working, and he wasn't going to school, and so I just said, enough's enough.
What are you doing now?
I'm working. I'm taking GED classes
Where are you working?
at the tree service.
Okay. When was this incident that caused you to be injured?
February 8th.
Tell me about it.
Well, Jeffrey got a new knife, and he was going to show...
What kind of knife?
Just a little pocket knife.
blade was probably 1.5 inches, 2 inches.
Okay, go ahead.
He was going to show me it, and he pressed a button and it latches out. And I went to go hit his arm away, and it's all happened.
Why don't you try to explain to me what happened, sir?
All right, I just got the knife, and it has a little button on it. If you press the button, it comes out.
So it's a switchblade?
Kind of.
What do you mean, kind of? What is a kind of switchblade? When you
Well, yes,
switchblade.
it's a switchblade.
Right.
And I was standing about right here, and I went just like this, and his hand came out, and when I pulled back, it went across his hand.
You had to have some surgery?
Yes,
So whose fault was it?
both of ours.
So why is she paying? Listen! How old is your baby?
He's a year and a half.
Do you see him?
Whenever I had the chance.
You mean whenever you could get out of the board meetings? Is that what you're telling me?
No, ma'am.
You're old enough to make a baby. You're old enough to live on your own. You're old enough to act like a fool playing around with a switchblade knife. Is there any reason why you have a switchblade knife?
No.
Just wanted it. Okay. What are you doing to help pay back your mother for these bills that she has to pay for you?
I was working, and I paid $100 each month. I paid $800.
He paid $800?
He's still paying his half.
Oh, okay.
My son is.
Now, why do you think you are not responsible for paying your half?
I feel like it's not my fault.
Whose fault is it? You mean the knife walked onto his hand?
No, I've shown him.
You weren't showing him carefully enough.
If his hand hadn't went up, it wouldn't have cut him.
Say it one more time.
Say it one more time. If his hand hadn't went up, it wouldn't have cut him.
Doesn't that sound ridiculous to you?
No.
It sounds ridiculous to me. It even sounds ridiculous to Officer Byrd. You had the knife, but for the fact that you took out the knife and you weren't handling it carefully enough as to avoid it injuring someone, you are responsible. If you hadn't had the knife in your hand, you wouldn't have gotten cut. You had a knife in your hand. You had a dangerous weapon in your hand. It's your responsibility when you have a dangerous weapon to make sure it's properly sheathed. Do you know what that means?
No.
What word didn't you understand?
The last one.
Sheathed.
Sheathed.
Sheathed. It means covered. When you sheath the knife, put a sheath on a knife. Now, you see, you learned a word today. I'm going to tell you what else you learned today. You learned that you owe her $3,775. That's all. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
When they don't pay what they're responsible for, that's what happens.
I still think I shouldn't have to pay it.
Playing with a knife, no matter, who was holding it or how it happened, whether they were wrestling around. I mean, they weren't playing football and he broke his leg.
I was shocked. I didn't think it cut him.
There was a knife and his hand got cut.
A lot of blood.
They would both learn to be responsible for their actions.
Don't play with knives.
If you're going to pull out a knife, be ready to be responsible for it, just like you are when you pull out a gun.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Cleary versus Gray, step forward, please.
Homemaker Sandy Cleary and her son, 5-year-old Nicholas, are suing their neighbor, accounts receivable clerk Cynthia Gray. Sandy claims Cynthia's dog bit Nicholas in the face.
Miss Cleary, this is your little boy?
Yes.
What's your name?
Nicholas.
Nicholas, why don't you come up here? You're going to sit right up here next to me.
There you go.
Nicholas, how old are you?
5.
You know who I am?
It's Judy.
Right. Do you ever watch me on television? You know what it is to be in court? Is this court where you are now? Okay. You know you have to tell the truth when you're in court, right? Okay, Nicholas, you just sit there. I'll be back to you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The fence doesn't work too well. The gate doesn't work too well. Where were you?
It happened so quickly.
So where was he when it happened?
The gate had opened. He went inside.
And you weren't close enough, Miss Cleary.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sandy Cleary says neighbor Cynthia Gray's dog bit her 5-year-old son Nicholas in the face.
Show me where you were bitten, Nicholas.
On my nose.
On your nose? Looks okay to me. Is it all better now? It's all better? Good. Ms. Cleary, you and the defendant are neighbors, and according to your complaint, one of her dogs bit your son.
Correct.
You want her to pay you $5,000 for whatever. Pain, suffering, a whole bunch of other things. How far away do you live from Mrs. Gray?
We have an apartment complex that we live in, and there's a home dividing Cindy's home to our apartment complex.
She lives in a private house?
Correct.
With a yard?
Correct.
With a fenced yard?
Yes.
How high is the fence?
It's probably about Nicholas's height, maybe a little bit taller.
And what kind of dogs does she have?
She has a medium-sized dog, mixed breed, and a little Chihuahua-sized dog.
Okay, and her dogs are behind the fence?
Correct.
Always behind the fence, unless she's walking them.
Well, not so correct on that one. Sometimes the dogs are free to either get out with the children also in the neighborhood to go in.
No, the children don't go in, I assume, unless their parents are with them.
Well, Cindy has also a young son, and my children, as well as other neighborhood children, have been able to go into the backyard to see if he's there to play.
Okay.
Versus the front door, actually.
No, but you wouldn't allow your 5-year-old to go there.
No.
Of course not. So, on what date was Nicholas bitten?
September 10th.
And where were you?
I was in the front yard of our apartment complex.
And who was with Nicholas?
His little friend, Lily.
How old is Lily?
She's the same age.
So you have 2 5-year-olds. And you were watching them?
Yes.
Well, tell me what happened.
Well, what happened was Nicholas and Lily both had asked if they could go see Nina and Riley.
Nina and Riley are the 2 dogs?
The 2 dogs, correct.
Yes.
And I said that would be okay, but it didn't look as if anybody was home and to please not go into the fence, as children always do. And he said, okay. And the last I knew, he went to go and see the dogs and then started screaming.
Just a minute. When he and Lily, also age 5, went over to the defendant's home, could you see your son?
No, Your Honor, I could not.
Why not?
Because, I mean, it's very close quarters. Her driveway goes back a little further than where ours does.
Yes.
It happened very quickly. My older son had also gone over there with them.
Where's your older son?
He's not here today. He didn't see what happened as well.
Then I don't need him here. So what you're saying is your son went into her yard?
Yes. The gate has never been a real well-shutting gate.
That's not the issue, whether it's shut well or not. Ms. Cleary, you are the parent.
Correct.
You have a responsibility. You have a 5-year-old child. Your 5-year-old child should not be out of your sight when playing out in the street. And if your 5-year-old child comes to you and says, I want to go and play with the 2 dogs, and you believe, as you said, that the defendant is not home or that nobody is home, you get off your duff and you get up and you say, you want to go and see the dogs, I will go with you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Madam, this is your fault. This is not the defendant's fault. She has 2 dogs. Her dogs are behind a fence, well protected. If your son hadn't gone into the yard, your son would not have gotten bitten. And you just told me that the fence doesn't work too well, the gate doesn't work too well. Where are you? I mean, you're out talking to a friend? It's your job to watch him. And if you were negligent in taking care of your own son, don't blame anybody else.
Your Honor, I am not blaming anybody else. It happened so quickly. I instructed him that he could only pet the dogs over the fence, as he always does. That children and him, they always pet the dogs.
So where was he when it happened?
The gate had opened. He went inside.
Then you weren't close enough, Miss Cleary.
I disagree, Your Honor, but...
Well, that's your prerogative to disagree. I'm telling you, it's your fault. It's not her fault. Your son went into her property, and you were outside, and it's your responsibility to take care of your child. It's not her responsibility to take care of your child. And you had the opportunity to do that by taking him by the hand with his friend Lily, walking him over to the fence, saying, I want to go and pet the dogs. Fine. Don't go into the yard, because you don't know what 2 5-year-olds do. 2 5-year-olds don't always have judgment. And this is a situation where you're looking to blame somebody else for your negligence, malfeasance, lack of proper parenting, and you're not going to do that here. Your case is dismissed. You were wonderful, Nicholas. Goodbye.
All these are excuses. You may step out.
She needs to learn her parenting much better.
It was simply an accident.
I think Nicholas is really sweet, but I don't think it was my dog's.
Actually, this woman had no concern for my son.
I'd ask many times to keep him home when I wasn't home.
This woman has harassed my family and I numerous times.
She came down screaming and yelling the night of the 10th.
Actually,
you
I
can't
asked
really
if the dog
speak
was
to her. She
vaccinated.
have to scream and yell.
She came out basically very defensive, saying his blood was on her side of the property.
She went off with her little friend screaming and yelling that they're going to effing sue you, effing this, effing that, just like every day goes.
He was screaming with a face full of blood.
We're in escrow on a new house, and we get to get away from this screaming maniac.
She wasn't very nice about it. There was no apology, none.
There won't be.
21-year-old data entry clerk Lorena Ayala is suing the mother of her ex-boyfriend's child, 19-year-old customer service rep Lisa Bianchi, for vandalizing her car.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 434 on the calendar in the matter of Ayala versus Bianchi. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
How old are you, Miss Ayala?
I just turned 21.
And you?
19.
And you have a baby?
Yes, ma'am.
How old is your child?
2.5.
So you had this child when you were 17?
I was 16, turning 17.
And the father of this child is one Joey?
Yes, ma'am.
And you had a boyfriend whose name just happens to be Joey?
Yes.
One and the same?
Yeah.
Where is Joey today?
He's not present.
Miss Ayala, you claim that Miss Bianchi, in a little bit of a hissy fit, damaged your car by kicking it.
Yeah.
Miss Bianchi says while you had a fight, she may have hit you, but she certainly didn't kick your car.
No, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm serious. Where is Joey? I mean, is he working today? Is he?
He's watching my child, his son.
He's babysitting?
Yes, ma'am.
He managed to get time off from his job?
No, he doesn't work.
You want to tell me what happened, Miss Ayala?
Yeah, it all started when me and my boyfriend were driving in my car.
Your boyfriend Joey?
My boyfriend Joey were driving in my car. And then she started following us. And she wanted me to get out of my car, and I didn't want to step out of my car.
Well, you stopped your car.
Well, Joey was driving.
So Joey stopped the car?
Yeah, Joey stopped the car. We went to his grandma's house so his mom could come out and make her stop following us.
She followed you to the grandmother's house?
Yeah, and he honked for her to come out, and then that's when Lisa ran out of her car, kicked my car, and that's when I got out of my car. And then I was going to close my door, and that's when she kicked my car again. And that's when she tried to tackle me to the floor, and we just started fighting until his mom and him pulled her off of me.
Now I'll hear your version.
It was Thanksgiving morning. The whole reason why we were fighting, I had informed him that I was pregnant again. And we were in the process of supposedly working things out. So later on that night, my friend who was dating his cousin had called me and informed me that he was with her, Lorena, in front of his grandmother's house in her car. So I drove over there.
Why?
Just see what's going on. I told him I was pregnant, find out if he's with her. We were supposedly working things out. So I went, I found them there. She was sitting in her back seat of her car, putting on her shirt. He was sitting in her driver's seat, just with his tank top on. And I had asked her, I'm like, oh, so you guys just got done, you know, having sex.
Doing the nasty.
Yeah. And she's yes, I asked her, I'm like, you guys just got done having sex? And, well, not in those words, but, and she's like, oh, yeah, we were. And he wasn't saying anything. He was sitting there. You know, he knew he was caught.
Because he's a moron.
Yeah, exactly. He knew he was caught.
He's a moron who doesn't have a 2-year-old child that's going to be around forever and isn't pregnant again.
Yes.
Right? You're that moron. He's
Yes.
the other moron.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
Me and her had words. We were both sitting in our car. I was sitting in my driver's seat. We both got out of the car at the same time and went at each other. And we're fighting for about maybe 2-3 minutes until Joey came, pulled me off of her. His aunt and his mom were then holding me back. He was holding her back.
Let me see damage to the car.
And they weren't holding me back. Just when she let me go, I let her go.
Did you ever hear of birth control?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, why don't you use it?
Oh, I am now.
Very good. So you're making $35,000 a year. You have your own apartment. you have your own car, you have your baby taken care of, your child is in school, you have a good job, you got your GED, you finished your education. What's the matter?
And you're married.
And yeah. Oh, please. That would be terrific. That would be frosting on the cake. Did you try to get out these dents? Is that what these little holes things are that you tried to get out the dents?
No, I didn't try to do anything. I haven't done anything. And I went to go get estimate.
I'd see the estimates.
The top one is the one where my Nissan dealer told me to go to, and that's the one I'm taking.
Top one is the cheapest one, $1,513. Is that right?
Yeah, that's where my Nissan dealer told me to go.
Bianchi, let me tell you sometimes what temper does. When you have a temper, you have to pay for it. This didn't happen to her car from nothing.
I understand.
Now, I don't care if this happened to her car as a result of the two of you struggling with each other and falling into the car, although that's not what this looks like.
No,
this looks like a kick.
We didn't even come in contact with her car.
That's not true. No, we didn't. You did.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It wasn't my intention to go and fight her.
Well, why didn't you just wait until he got finished and call him on the phone?
I wanted to catch him.
Well, you caught him.
Yeah, I caught him.
And later today,
the dog comes running through my yard with teeth and everything and starts fighting Prissy. Ripped her ear. There was blood every place.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lorena Ayala says the mother of her ex-boyfriend's child, Lisa Bianchi, vandalized her vehicle. Lisa says she caught the father of her child and Lorena having sex in a parked car.
Miss Bianchi, you were so furious that day, which is why when I read your answer and you said you found out after Joey had been at your house and had talked the day before about getting back together again, blah, 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 somebody calls you up and said, you know where Joey is? Joey's over at our house. You get in the car. Where'd you put your baby when you got into the car?
He was at home with my mother.
Your mother takes care of your baby?
Oh, no, ma'am.
Well, what were you doing at home with your mother?
I lived there.
Well, so you left your mother to take care of your baby?
I asked her if she can take care of him, yes.
So you could go out and take care of this problem?
No, it wasn't my intention to go and fight her. It was my intention to go there and find out what was he doing with her. If he was with her, then why is he, you know...
Well, why didn't you just wait until he got finished and call him on the phone?
I wanted to catch him, so...
Well, you caught him.
Yeah, I caught him.
You caught him?
Yeah.
And once you caught him, then your adrenaline started to rush. That you have to pay for, Miss Bianchi. Are you expecting this other baby?
No, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,513.73. Thank you, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He's been with me. We're not together, but I'm always going to be there. We'll communicate. He's the father of my child.
I was in the back seat. He was driving in the front seat.
Why would she be in the back seat? She was putting on her clothes.
I'm not going to be with them no more.
Don't fight over a guy anymore. They're not worth it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Moore versus Muhammad. Step forward, please.
Pharmacy technician Tracy Moore is suing her ex-boyfriend, private detective Busharat Muhammad, for an unpaid loan to get his car out of the shop. Busharat is countersuing for medical bills as the result of Tracy's harassment.
Miss Moore, you claim a loan, a small one, of $200 to the defendant who at some point was a boyfriend of yours.
Yes.
Mr. Mohammed says there was never a loan. You did, in fact, give him $200, which is the amount you're suing for, but that was for work that he was doing for you in his capacity as a private investigator. Mr. Mohammed has filed a counterclaim alleging that because you harassed him for this $200 over a long period of time, he developed an ulcer, and he would like you to pay some $2,000 for his medical bills. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you meet him, and when did you give him the $200?
I met him at the end of July in 2002. I loaned him the $200 on September 2nd in the agreement that he was going to pay me back.
September 2nd?
Yes, ma'am.
So did you start to date him? Were you dating him in July and August?
You could say that, yes.
What do you mean? I don't want to say that. I want to know if you want to say that.
Sorry. It was more of he starting to take control of me and was making me call him all the time, and so I guess he was claiming me as his girlfriend, yes.
I don't know what that means.
Your Honor, she's lying. That's why she can't even tell the court straight what's going on.
I'm going to get to you in a second. Did you go out to dinner together?
No, ma'am.
Did you go to a movie together?
No, ma'am.
Did you go visit a park together?
No, he was always...
A zoo?
No.
I don't want to hear anything. Did he come to your house?
Yes.
For dinner?
No, ma'am.
Did you have an intimate relationship?
Yes, ma'am.
Judge, about this $200 in September.
He asked me to loan him $200 so he can get his car out of a shop.
Tell me where you were when you had this discussion.
In my apartment.
And exactly what did he say to you?
He asked me if he could borrow the $200 so he can get his car out of the shop and that he would pay me back within 2 days when he got his money. And then he took me to the bank to cash my check, and that's when I gave him the $200.
And what happened on September 2nd? After that, you didn't see him anymore?
He didn't come over, and I would try and call him, and he told me to stop harassing him, and he would hang up on me.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Mohammed, let me hear you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. First of all, Your Honor, we never dated. We had a friendship, but we never dated. That's why she couldn't get it straight. I never told her my car was in the shop. She came to me. She said that her mother was trying to...
Just a second. She came to you where?
Well, we were at her house talking.
So you were at her house?
Exactly.
She didn't come to you?
No, we were at her house.
You went to her house?
I went to her house to visit her.
Go ahead.
And she said that her mother was her mother was really upset. And I said, about what? And she said, well, because she is trying to get money from her ex-husband, trying to garnish his wages. I said, well, I did investigation part-time before. If you want me to try to help you, I can save her a lot of money by taking her down to the court places where you could buy the paperwork, show her how to fill the paperwork out. She could do it herself.
You were going to take her to the courthouse?
No.
Where?
I have a client of mine that owns a store where he sells paper, you know, the packets that show you how to file on landlord disputes and certain things, small things, individual.
So you were going to take her to the store?
Yes, ma'am.
And get her the right set of forms?
Exactly.
Go ahead.
And she said, yes. She said, well, I told her, well, for a flat fee of $200, I would do that. Ms. Moore said, I'll give it to him when I get my check in the mail.
Okay, so that's what you say it was for. You took her to the bank, she gave you the $200.
Exactly.
And that was on what date, sir?
That was around September the 7th or 8th.
Okay. Now, when did you take her mother to the store?
I never did.
Stop! You never did?
No, ma'am.
Well, that's what you were supposed to do, according to your answer, Mr. Mohammed, for the $200.
Exactly.
So you didn't do what you had said you were going to do?
No, ma'am. I didn't.
Why not?
Because I tried to contact her mother 3 days in a row. In fact, after I got the money the next day, I called her. I said, look, we need to try to get down there and take her to the stationery store.
Okay, so you didn't get together with the mother, so keep going.
So she called me about 2 days later and said, I want the money back.
Right.
I said, I don't have it right now. I said, my thing was to help your mother. She said, well, I need the money. She said, because I got to pay bills and feed my children. I said, well, I don't have it right now. She said, well, you better get it.
You're a hustler.
I'm a hustler.
You're a hustler.
I'm about as much hustler
You're a
as you
hustler.
are.
You're a hustler, Mr. Mohammed. Let me tell you why you're a hustler. Because I read your answer very carefully. Let's understand what you've just testified to before I get to it. You said to me that this was not a loan.
Right.
This had nothing to do with your car.
Exactly.
You said to... Don't agree with me, sir. You said to me that you were having a discussion with her. She said her mother needed to do some work to get some alimony or support from her ex-husband. You had a friend who had a stationery store. You were going to take her mother down there and make sure she got the right forms. That's not something that costs $200.
No,
let me finish. I'm finishing now, but that's what you were going to do. And then, for one reason or another, within a day or two, you realized that this wasn't going to come about. You weren't going to take her mother down to get the forms, and therefore you had done nothing so far. Nothing for that $200. Now let me read from your answer, sir. In August, she hired me to do some investigating on her mother's ex-husband. I made them a deal that I would do the work for a flat fee of $200 up front. I got started on the case. What case? Going to your friend's store? In any case, I started the work, and the few days I put in on the case are worth more than $200. That's what you swore to. You did nothing. Nothing. So, why didn't you give it back to her?
Because she had people coming over to where I live at, threatening me on the phone.
Why didn't you just give her back the $200 or say to her,
because she
I'm
never
sorry,
said,
Miss Moore, I shouldn't have spent it before I did anything, but I
told her
spent
that.
it.
I told her that.
Did you tell her you would give it back to her?
I did tell her that.
Did you tell her when?
I told her to give me a couple of weeks.
So why, Mr. Mohammed, did you swear to, in your statement to me, that you had already done work on the case? Why didn't you just say, I told her that I would give her back her money, just give me 2 weeks, I didn't have it? Why didn't you write that in your answer?
Because I did tell her that. I did tell her I would give her the money back.
You didn't tell that to me.
Even though I initially had started, even though I contacted her 3 days in a row to contact her mother. I even met with her mother. Her mother came by and I talked to her mother.
You getting the whole thing?
I went to her house and talked to her mother.
You're getting the whole thing, right? All right, let's get to your counterclaim. So she bothered you. She called you 50 times a day.
No, she's sending people over
ulcer.
to my house threatening me with terroristic threats, physical violence.
And that gave you an ulcer?
That's not how you go about getting your money.
That gave you an ulcer?
Well, what gave me ulcer was deciding, well, should I kill these people for threatening me over $200? Or should I try? Because people don't understand. Little small things start great wars. And these people were threatening me with physical violence about $200. I'm not no punk or pushover. So if they got to bring a life to take a life, my point is that they come to take my life, I'm going to take theirs, even if it's about $200.
Good. Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $200. Your counterclaim's dismissed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. Ma'am, wait here.
The woman that's threatening to send people over and threatening me with physical violence, did she get in the court acting like she's an innocent victim?
The only time I sent anyone to his house was when he said he had the money, but he had no way to get to my house.
She could have stopped the terroristic threat.
That was his main excuse. I don't have a ride.
Rule number 1 when dealing with the devil is don't.
I have not loaned anybody money since that day, and I won't do it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Spear versus Green. Step forward, please.
22-year-old waitress Jamie Spear is suing the father of her child, 20-year-old Job Corps worker Antoine Green, for the cost to fix her car. Jamie says Antoine caused her to crash into a telephone pole.
Ms. Spear, you and the defendant have a child in common, and it is your claim that the defendant caused your car to be totaled.
Yes, ma'am.
You were driving the car, but his actions caused your car to be totally wrecked. The defendant says that it was your fault, that you were arguing with him, and you had no business driving anyway because your license was suspended. Is that your defense, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
How old is the child that you share?
2 years old.
Now, what was he doing in your car?
Okay, he went to Job Corps about a year ago. He just got back and he just got a job. This is the first job he's had in going on 2 years. So this is the first real child support.
You went to Job Corps?
Yes.
What did you do in Job Corps?
I took up a trade, brick mason.
And you came back and got a job as a brick mason?
No, I came back and got a job as, I'm working for the city of Winston-Salem right now.
Go ahead.
Okay, he called me that day because he was getting off work early. He wanted me to take him to cash his first check. And I agreed. And so being this his first check.
Okay, so far, was that your first check that you were getting from your job that day, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you ask her to come and pick you up?
Yes.
Okay. So I picked him up and he wanted me to go to cash his check, and we're on the way, and we decided that we weren't going to go through the court system to get child support. He wanted a chance to just give me money or pay for her. And so I asked for $40 a week. As we're going to go cash the check, I said, okay, this is what I want from you. Mind you, I haven't had any child support up until now. So he started telling me that he wasn't giving me money for me to go partying with or to waste and spend on myself. And it hurt me because I've been doing all this by myself. So that started a heated argument, and we started arguing. We were driving down the road. He got mad. He reached over. He grabbed the steering wheel. He didn't just grab it and like make it move and make me lose control of the car. He grabbed it, pulled it down right here, and held it. So we went up on the sidewalk. We hit a tree. It kind of sideswiped, and then we hit a telephone pole, I think it was, in front of that, which stopped the car. Luckily, there wasn't a scratch on any of us, but the car is totaled, and my daughter was in the car. We could have all died. We were lucky.
Who takes care of your baby?
I take care of her. When I go to work on the weekends, his mother keeps her.
So you only work on the weekends?
No, I work on Monday nights and Thursday nights and Friday and Saturday.
You get any sort of sustenance from the state?
No, just I had daycare assistance, but that's it.
How many days a week?
5.
Well, what do you do when your daughter is in daycare?
Well, I was working lunches, but I wasn't making enough money, so I had to go back to working dinners.
Why don't you find another job to do if you're getting daycare?
I'm going to school in January, and I'm trying to find a second job. I am.
Why don't you work breakfast and dinner and lunch? I mean, if the state is paying for your daycare, Miss Spear, they're paying for your daycare not so you can stay home and watch soap operas in the afternoon. They're paying for your daycare so that you can be out there working.
Right.
Now, You have a suspended driver's license?
I do.
Why were you driving?
Well, actually...
Not actually. Why were you driving if you're not supposed to be
The
driving
day
the car?
that the accident happened is when I found out that my license was revoked. She came back to me and said that your license had been revoked.
Why was it revoked?
Because I had an outstanding ticket.
For what?
For speeding.
That you didn't pay?
I haven't had the money to pay.
Well, that's because you were home watching soap operas instead of working lunches. Now I'll hear you. Did you know, Mr. Green, that Miss Spear had a suspended driver's license?
Yes,
when
I
you
knew
called
that.
her?
I knew that.
He did not.
Did you?
know
Shh.
I'm sorry.
He says he did. When did you find out that she had a suspended driver's license?
I found out when the accident happened.
Oh, so you didn't know.
Yeah, I know now.
It's not what I asked you. I want you to try to follow what I'm saying.
Okay.
Now you tell me your version of the events. You called her up and she turned off her TV and she came to pick you up. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead. Pick it up from there.
So she picked me up from work. I got off early, and the first thing she asked me is about the child support. She wanted me to give her $40 a week. She wanted
Now, how much more was that than you were giving her all of last year, sir? Last year, how much were you giving her a week?
I wasn't giving her pretty much.
What?
I really didn't have a steady job then.
Just a minute. Oh, now I understand. So, you didn't give her anything last year.
I gave her something.
How much?
If I could, about $50, if I could.
So you gave her nothing last year. And the year before, how much were you giving her a week? The year before? A week?
It was close to a couple of $100.
A week?
Yeah.
Really? You were giving her a couple $100 a week?
Yes.
That's a lot of money. Where were you getting a couple $100 a week from?
I had a good job then.
So why did you go into Job Corps?
Because I wanted to get a trade to make more money.
Well, you didn't do that.
No.
It didn't help you.
No, I'm still
You
working
gave
on
up.
it, though.
You gave up a job where you could afford to give her $200 a week to go into Job Corps. How much were you making at this job?
$300 a week.
So you are, Mr. Green, you are one of the most generous people I know. So you're making $300 a week from your job, and you're giving her $200 a week child support. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
You believe that? This is coming from a man who didn't want to give her $40 a week.
No, let me tell you.
$40 a week. So you're telling me first you were giving her $200. Let me follow this, Mr. Green.
I didn't want.
You're giving her $200 a week because she had a really good job making $300 a week. So 2/3 of your income you give her. Then you wanted to get a better job with a trade. So you went to Job Corps where you couldn't send her any money. Then you came out and you got a job where you were making how much a week at this job working for the city?
About the same thing, $250, $300.
$250 or $300 a week, right? So why weren't you giving her $200 a week? The last job you had where you were making $300 a week, you were giving her $200. What happened in the car, sir? So she asked you for $40 and you said, I'm not giving you $40.
No, I'm not giving her no more money. So she started arguing. You know, we was arguing real loud for a minute, for about an hour, driving on the road. The car just lost control. So I grabbed the wheel, tried to pull the car back on the street. But instead, the car hit the pole and then hit up against the tree.
Okay. What was the total damage to the car?
I wasn't able to get an estimate because I can't afford to get the car towed anywhere. It's not drivable, and I can't afford to have anyone come out and look at it.
When did you buy the car?
In February of 2002, this year.
And how much did you pay for it?
$1,600.
Okay.
And then the value of the car is valued at $2,600.
I don't care what it's valued at, madam. Miss Spear.
And then
You think that I believe he's totally responsible for this? I don't believe he's totally responsible. I believe that you're partially responsible. You don't have a fight in a car with your baby in the car over anything. You stop the car and you say to him, get out. Stop the car, pull over, and say, get out. And then you would have gotten out of the car and you would have composed yourself and you would have continued. You don't fight with him back and forth, especially with the baby in the car. Don't you think the baby hears you screaming back and forth to each other? 2-year-old child understands that.
May I say something, Your Honor?
No. Takes two to make a fight. 2 idiots to make a fight driving in a car with a baby. You want to have a fight with each other in a car, bad enough. You're placing yourselves at risk, other people on the road at risk. But to have a fight in a car with your child in the car screaming and yelling at each other is the height of stupidity. So the car, you paid $1,600 for that, I believe. You only get $8. The other $8, work off at lunch. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $800. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm just glad it's over with, and we have to continue to be civil, so.
We gotta be friends, you know, for my child, but
We'll just be parents, civil parents, and that's it.
she think my word wasn't great enough, so she brought me to court.
He needed to learn a lesson this time.
I wanted to go get it myself instead of giving it to her.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Oliveira versus Rodriguez. Step forward, please.
Painter Alejandro Oliveira is suing his ex-girlfriend, machinist Evie Rodriguez, for the return of his belongings and for vandalizing his van.
Mr. Oliveira, it is your claim that Miss Rodriguez, who used to be your girlfriend, vandalized your car and kept some of your property when she decided to terminate the relationship because she allegedly saw your vehicle in a motel, and she wasn't at the motel. She says she didn't touch your car, and you had plenty of time to get your property, and she doesn't have your property anymore. How long were you going out with her?
About 2 years.
Did you live together?
Yes.
And tell me when she vandalized your car.
The night that she seen my van at a hotel room.
What night was that?
Oh, I'm not sure the exact date, but
Better be sure, because if you're not sure, I can't hear your case.
in the middle of July, I would say like July 15th.
And where were you at the time that you observed her damaging your car?
I was at my friend Jacob's house.
Had you seen Miss Rodriguez at the motel? Did she try to get your attention?
Yes.
How did she try to get your attention, Mr. Oliveira?
She was yelling out my name, come out, and asking me to come out, and I wouldn't come out.
Okay, and you waited until she left?
Yes.
And what happened when you got to Jacob's house?
I was gonna stay the night there, and then
She thought that would be a good idea.
yeah, I heard some things going on outside. The same thing, pounding on the door, telling me to come outside. I wouldn't come outside, so then.
Why not?
Because I didn't want to deal with this girl, and she started bashing my windshield and my back window.
You have photographs?
No, I don't.
Why not?
I just didn't even think about doing that.
So why are you thinking about suing her now?
Because she took some personal belongings when we lived together, and I wanted them back. She wouldn't give them back, so.
Like what?
Couches, living room set, clothes.
You lived together for 2 years, sir. Are these things that you purchased when you were living together?
No, I had them prior.
When, for the first time, did you ask her for this property?
After we separated, and.
Well, you separated, I assume, on July 15th.
Sure.
Yeah.
The day after, I asked her, I'm gonna go get my stuff. She had already locked the doors. Then one day after that incident, she had threw all my things outside and said I better go and get them before somebody takes them.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Alejandro Oliveira says ex-girlfriend Evie Rodriguez won't return his personal property.
Why didn't you go over there?
I was just drinking and I didn't want to drive, so I waited till the next day.
Oh, and what happened to all your stuff?
They were there, and I took the things I can, like small things, but I couldn't carry couches and the bigger things by myself, so I just waited. Yeah. And I told her to put the stuff back inside, and she refused to. Then she said they got stolen, but I know she took them because I seen them at her sister's house when I peeped through a window.
So the couches in her sister's house?
Yeah.
Does your sister have his couches?
No.
No? Who has his couches?
I told different people that there's stuff outside. If you want it, go get it.
Good. Well, that's good. So they took him.
Yeah.
They came and they took it.
Yeah.
Did you bust his windows on his car?
No.
You didn't bust?
You had a right to. You had a right to, in your own mind, I'm sure you thought, right?
I'm not the kind of person to do that. So.
Well, what I don't understand, Mr. Oliveira, is that if somebody vandalized my car like that and you want them to pay for it and you want to bring a lawsuit, you take a photograph of what the car looks like.
True, but at the time it happened, I didn't even think about taking it to court, you know.
So what do you want me to do?
Actually, I just want to get my couches back, and she
doesn't have your couches.
She does have them.
No. She told somebody she put your couches out along with all the other property. You said you came by, you didn't come by that night because you'd been drinking. You came by the next day, you took some of the things that you wanted. She says she called all of her friends and says there's a bunch of junk outside. If you want to come and get it, you come and get it. Maybe her sister wanted the junky couches. She came and got the couches.
She has no right to give things away. That's not hers anyway, so.
Yeah?
She shouldn't have did that in the first place. That's not right.
Just a second. You shouldn't have given away the couches if you gave them away. I'm telling you, she shouldn't have. What were you doing at the motel?
Just partying, whatever.
Really? The night before, this happened on the 15th of July. On the 14th of July, where were you?
I was there at the apartment where we lived at.
Yeah. Did you have dinner together that night?
Sure.
Do you have children?
Nope.
Do you have children?
I have one.
How old is your child?
He's 12.
Does he live with you?
Yes.
Oh, I have 2 children, but not with her.
So you have 2 children?
Yes, I do. I thought you meant if I had some
No,
with her.
no. Not with her.
No.
And not with the person you were in the motel with, I assume.
No.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So, did you tell Miss Rodriguez that you were going to spend an evening in a motel with somebody on the 15th?
Nope.
Why not?
We were having troubles at the time. We were breaking up.
Really?
So,
when did you tell her that?
I never told her. It just things were happening.
Mr. Oliveira, you have no pictures of your car vandalized. So I can't tell, A, if it was vandalized at all, and B, whether she did it.
She did do it. I just thought she would come up to it and say that she did, because she knows she
not.
did.
And as far as your property is concerned, she called you and said to you, oh, by the way, you still living in the same apartment or the same house?
I moved out.
And you didn't move back into that place, did you?
No.
Where did you go to live?
At my friend's house, where the night that
At
she came and
Jacob's
broke in.
house?
Yes.
You still living there at Jacob's?
Yes.
No, you're not, Mr. Oliveira?
I am.
Full time?
What do you mean full time, Mom?
You sleep there all the time?
Yeah.
Every night?
That's where I'm staying at now.
Uh-huh, right. So you paying any rent to Jacob?
It's not, well, it's not actually his house, it's his mother's house. But
Oh, really?
yes.
So you have your own room there?
I sleep on the couch, or if nobody...
Oh, just a minute. So she has a couch?
She has a couch.
So where are you going to put these couches when you get them?
I can put them at my mom's or wherever in storage.
Oh, well, you don't have any couches anymore, Mr. Oliveira.
I know.
Case is dismissed.
Her sister has-
Goodbye.
Oh, these are excused. You may step out.
I thought it was a good verdict.
She wants to lie and be like that. That's how it is.
He's just mad because I don't want him back.
I was just there with friends. There wasn't nothing going on or nothing. She just took it the wrong way.
Watch who I live with next time.
She was breaking the windshield with bottles and stuff.
No, I didn't do that.
Don't go out with crazy women.
Next time someone says, come and get your stuff, just go get it.
2189, Hernandez versus Vieira. All parties, please step forward.
Sofia Hernandez is suing her dog sitter, Cherie Vieira, for vet bills after her dog was injured during Cherie's care.
Miss Hernandez, how old is your puppy?
She's 6 months, Your Honor.
And when she was 4 months old, you needed a home sitter for your dog. Or
Yes.
you needed a place to board her for a weekend, long weekend. You live on an Army base.
A naval base.
Naval base. Does the defendant live on the base as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
And she approached you or whatever and said that she was available for sitting. Is that what you do to make some extra money?
Yes, Your Honor.
And on the 22nd of December of last year, which is when this incident occurred, you dropped the dog off at the defendant's home.
December 16.
Was the 16th?
Yes.
And when you dropped the puppy off at the defendant's home, she was in perfectly fine shape.
Yes.
She looked very sweet.
Thank you.
So what happened when she dropped the puppy off at your house? I want you to tell me something that I'm going to believe, that you and your mother were in the room with your 10-year-old sister and you saw what happened with the dog. Just a second. I want you to make sure that that's what you're telling me.
Sofia Hernandez claims her dog sitter, Cherie Vieira, is responsible for vet bills after her dog Dolce was injured during Cherie's care.
Because Ms. Hernandez has an outstanding vet bill for surgery on the dog's leg, which was broken, while in your care.
Yes, Your Honor.
So why don't you tell me how that happened?
Miss Hernandez brought Dolce to our house. We took her in, and we had also another
Not
dog.
me. I want you to tell me, you. When you say you took her in, did you or somebody else?
It's a family effort. My children also help take care of the dogs. I started watching dogs because my youngest child was deathly afraid of dogs. She was bit by a dog at the age of 2. So we started this so she could learn how to take care of dogs properly, know their signs and things like that. And we took Dolce into my daughter's room.
Which daughter?
Into my youngest daughter's room.
Is that you?
I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest. And how old is your youngest daughter?
She's 10.
Okay, so once you took her into your daughter's room, she was alone with the puppy?
No, all 3 of us were in the room. What we like to do is
No, I don't want you to tell me what you like to do.
Okay.
I want you to be consistent with what you put in your answer. You were all in your daughter's room?
Yes.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, ma'am.
Just one second. Okay. So your husband was with another dog in the yard?
Yes.
So I brought this dog into my daughter's room, your 10-year-old daughter's room, to settle down.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then you don't know what happened because you weren't watching.
I was actually...
No, you were not watching. That's what it says here.
Well, I was taking pictures.
It doesn't make any difference. You weren't watching. You don't know what happened. If you were taking pictures that would be on your camera.
I have pictures here of Dolce that I was actually sending to
No,
Mr.
I don't
Hernandez.
care. It would be on your camera if you were taking pictures. And if you were taking pictures, then you would have exactly what happened with the dog that caused the dog to have a broken leg. But you don't have those pictures. Am I correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So that you were not watching and you did not see what happened at the moment the dog was injured?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
But I do have a witness that I brought with me, my daughter, who actually did see as I was sending pictures to Ms. Hernandez.
You sure you want to do that? Are you sure you want to do that? Be very careful, Miss Vieira. Are you sure you want to put her there for me to question? Are you sure? Are you sure?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Your
I don't
Honor.
think, yeah, I don't think so. But it's your choice. Let's go. I want you to tell me something that I'm going to believe, that you and your mother were in the room with your 10-year-old sister and you saw what happened with the dog.
Yeah.
Just a second. I want you to make sure that that's what you're telling me. So you were in the room?
Yes, I was.
Okay. Your first name is?
Abigail.
I'd like to see a picture of Abigail in the room with the dog when you were sending pictures, allegedly, to the plaintiff of the dog. I just want to see pictures of her in the room.
Your Honor, I did not make pictures of those.
Why not? She was there. You were taking pictures of the dog. I assume your 10-year-old's room is not the size of this courtroom. So if you were taking pictures, Abigail would be in those pictures.
Your Honor, I actually have a picture of her leg after I was bit by Dolce.
I don't care after you were bit by Dolce. You were bit by the puppy because she was injured.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. That was after she was injured.
Yes.
I want to see a picture of your daughter that you were taking pictures of, allegedly to send to the plaintiff to show her how the dog was adjusting.
I do not have pictures of that,
Right.
Your Honor.
Yeah. Miss Vieira, do you want to know the truth? I don't believe you were in the room with your daughter, either one of them, and the puppy. I think that you left the puppy with your 10-year-old, and you don't know what happened. That's what I believe. And whether I believe, and it's accurate or not accurate, the dog was injured in your care. So you're responsible for the surgical bill. It's that simple. Dog got a broken leg in your care with enough adults there to watch the dog. Your husband, the older daughter, and you put her in the room with your 10-year-old because you thought it would be cute. Your 10-year-old wanted to play with her. That's what happened. Can I see the vet bill, please?
Yes, Your Honor. I have the urgent care bill and the surgery bill as well.
So the invoice was $58.18?
For the surgery.
And $862. $66.08, judgment for the plaintiff. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
You know, I'm happy because those vet bills are really high. You know, it's not something that you could take on at the time.
I was in the room with the dog. The dog jumped from the floor, and it was a freak accident. But
my dog was healthy, you know. She had just been at the vet. She's gotten her shots. She was healthy.
I still don't know. I researched online. I think maybe that the dog already had an injury prior. She was at my house 25 minutes.
I would never drop off my dog like that.
She jumped up to retrieve a toy out of my daughter's hand from the floor, a fluffy carpet, and she landed and cried.
With a pre-existing condition, I would watch her myself.
About 3 minutes after, I called her mom to let her know that she was hurt, injured.
You know, my heart dropped. You know, I was upset we didn't go on the trip, but she's my baby. Turned around.
She wanted to know how bad it was because she wanted to go on her trip, and I told her it was bad enough for her dog to bite me.
We took her straight to the urgent care.
I asked her to come back to get her dog. I didn't want to move the dog, so she came back and had us bring the dog out.
She had a fractured leg.
Freak accident, kind of feel like, I don't know, it wasn't fair.
They didn't give me one. They just ignored my messages asking for payment.
I'm glad the dog's okay.
Dulce's great. Her leg is healed. She's on a recovery program.
So, no issue?
Simple.
Dog didn't break its leg itself?
Yep.
You know, common sense dictates to me that they brought the puppy in to play with the 10-year-old. Otherwise, they would have had photographs of the other daughter in the room. It didn't happen, but it really doesn't matter. Because
no bad intentions, no, you know, nothing was done on purpose, but...
No, but it was negligent.
Sure.
Because if you allow a
Negligence per se.
10-year-old...
If a dog breaks a leg, it doesn't break it on its own. Yeah.
It's your fault.
Obviously, on Judy Justice.
Each one of you are claiming that the other is guilty of harassment and false police reports, reports to Child Welfare Administration. The whole bad feeling between neighbors started because of a parking space.
She parked very close to my car, as you can see on the picture. She started parking close to me like that.
She asked you to move. Your response to her was, it's a public street, I'll park where I want to park. I'm not sympathetic with you. You called Child Protective Services based on...
She yelled at her daughter to get down, or next time she does it, she's going to beat her up, and then we heard break your neck.
And she said, hey, get off the couch right now. I'm going to beat you up. Stop playing. Okay. I'm going to break it. Oh, she says, you're going to break your neck.
She didn't say, I'm going to break your neck. She said, you're going to break your neck.
After she threatened to beat the child up.
I still think that that's a little bit of overkill, Miss Jackson. Let's go further.
And now, the conclusion. Lynette Hernandez is suing her neighbors, Pamela Jackson and Ashley Jackson, for filing false CPS reports and defamation of character.
So the first 2 times that you called Child Protective Services, I think that they were iffy. And I believe, you know, if you see something, say something. But this comes from a different place. All right.
A police officer...
Don't speak. I don't care what a police officer said to you, actually. I really don't care. You say that she called Child Protective Services in April.
April 7th.
Just a second. So Child Protective Services responded to a call on April 7th. And what was the gravamen of that call? Somebody was complaining that what? Do you know?
Yeah, she...
Not she. Somebody was complaining.
Somebody was saying that I had a knife, a child, and that I was kicking her car. The same thing she told the police officer the first time. Then whenever she came inside of my house, the CPS worker...
Just a second. She says she did not call Child Protective Services in April. That's what she says. So now you're going to show me proof that she called Child Protective Services in April. She acknowledges she called 3 times, all after August, either August, September, or thereafter. So show me proof that she called in April.
Just tell her to press play.
Press play at the bottom.
All these in Galveston knew how to take care of their men, they wouldn't be paying her to take care of them. She's very proud of this. She's proud of she doesn't care that her kids are there. I've seen signs of things that have happened. You know what? There was one incident, and yes, it did get reported to CPS. Yes, there's a video out there. Now I'm going to have to go find the video where one of the guys that comes out giving her money, the daughter is sitting there kind of grabbing herself money, almost like something happened. So it's almost like Lynette actually pimped out her own daughter. What kind of mother is going to A, do her prostitution in front of her kids, and B, allow them around her daughter?
How did you get this audio?
She posted that on TikTok. And the first time that they came, April 7th, CPS, they told me that those were the allegations that were made.
Clearly, that's your voice.
It's
clearly, just a second.
That was after.
Clearly, that's your voice.
That's my voice, but I'm not the one that called. I learned about the allegations.
Clearly,
she called the police.
Clearly, That's your voice. And those are pretty serious allegations, because you're not only accusing her of committing a crime in front of her children, you say in this audio, which is on TikTok, is that where it is?
See if there's
people are so crazy, that she is using her daughter, who is 7. That's what you say on here. That's pretty vicious.
At the time,
just a second. That's pretty.
Your Honor, she's claiming that I'm a prostitute.
Just a second. Does it sound as if right now, I told you, I don't care if you have to parallel park.
There's another TikTok to why that one was posted that would clear more information.
I don't care if you have something that would clear more information, madam.
She accused me of being arrested for calling CPS when I wasn't. And that particular CPS call, somebody else, she called the police after that.
Did you post this
after
on a just a sec?
I got fired for.
That's your voice. And I don't care if you're having a private conversation with somebody, if you're saying to somebody privately, this is what I think is going on there, this is what I think. You posted this on a public platform, accusing her, not only accusing her, but saying that you saw her home being used for prostitution and her using her child for prostitution. That's what you say. Hey, that's what you say in here. And it was posted because that's the only way you get it.
Views, unlike hers, that had over 4 million.
Just a second. I'm telling you that is egregious. That is egregious. Now, I have a question for you. Have you ever been arrested?
No, ma'am.
I didn't ask you for anything. Have you ever been, careful, have you ever been arrested?
No, ma'am.
If you haven't been arrested, you couldn't have been convicted of a crime. You have 2 children. How old are they?
7 and 8.
Who do you work for?
I'm a home health caregiver for a company.
You work full-time?
Part-time, because I was a student.
Where?
In Galveston College.
Is that a brick-and-mortar school?
It's a community college.
But it's a brick-and-mortar school. It's not online.
No, it's public.
When I say it's a brick-and-mortar, it's a building rather than something in the cloud.
Yeah.
Okay. Outrageous. That's outrageous.
She ended up...
Lynette Hernandez claims her neighbor, Pamela Jackson, defamed her on social media. Pamela says she called CPS on Lynette after she witnessed abuse.
Okay, when's the 3rd time you called?
The 3rd time, she was outside with her child. Her child threw a ball at her. She took the ball, and with full force, she took it and threw it at his face. She also threw it at his groin. Then when he was upset and crying, she looked at him and told him, "You've been hit harder than that in soccer."
Okay. Did you have a video
we have
of
a
that?
recording.
I'd like to see it. Which one is your phone? The happy face or this face?
Here's the one where you can see him being hit in the groin. And then there's another one, too.
Thank you.
I'm not sure what this is showing.
Well, she's playing ball with her 2 children out in the front. It's looks like a big beach ball.
Oh, that.
And then she throws the ball in it, but it's in a light-spirited, in a very light-spirited way. These are not angry.
The other one's not.
These are, I got it.
Just a mother playing with her children.
CPS closed all of these cases after they came out and interviewed you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It was ruled out because they didn't find anything.
Okay. Now, I'm going to hear one thing from you. Only one thing. And that's your counterclaim. Because I don't care about police. I don't care calling the police. You're all entitled to do that. CPS is a whole different thing.
If I could add something, please?
Not unless it's on video. Because what you showed me so far...
I got document for this one.
What?
We've got documentation on this one.
On what?
In retaliation, she called CPS on my daughter who doesn't have kids.
Who cares? Then your daughter's not at risk if she has no children. CPS responded based upon at least 3 times, maybe 4, but at least 3 times. And so far, nothing that I've seen, other than the fact that you were annoyed, would require or suggest child abuse or neglect. So I'm telling you, that's trouble for you. All I want to hear now is you claim she assaulted you. That's your counterclaim. I don't want to hear about anything else. You claim she assaulted you.
Well, we have two parts to that. We also have defamation.
All I care about, you have to understand, I find that what you and or your daughter did by calling Child Protective Services vindictive and vile. And it took people who should be out there really looking to take care of children who are really abused and or neglected, took their time to come out, do an investigation, all because of vindictiveness, because I saw nothing. If I were trying a neglect case...
I have video of a cop telling me to call
Just
CPS.
a second. Just a second. I don't care. You have shown me the basis that you used to call Child Protective Services. You took the video of it. And I'm telling you, that was my business for a quarter of a century. I would never make a finding of neglect based upon anything that you had here. Anything. So now, follow directions. You know, I told you, I'm an equal opportunity abuser. I told her she's got to learn how to parallel park and not tell people where to park on the street. All I'm interested from you is tell me about this assault that you allege occurred.
The night of the assault, and we have video of it. I should get that ready.
Date, just a second. Date.
November 27th, this past year, 2022. It was in the evening. I was outside changing my cameras, and she came home and took my trash can because she had put hers in front of my car that day, or the day before, and the cops even, because at first she...
No. Don't go off on a tangent.
Okay. So she took my trash can, put it in the middle of the road. She likes to try to get me tickets. I went to go move it. She kept pulling it and moving it back out there. So finally I went to go grab her can to move it over. Well, she ended up taking my can and going like this. Literally shoved it into me 4 times. I ended up with scratches and bruises.
Okay.
I've got back strain and it agitated my arthritis.
I'm going to see.
I've got medical record.
Just a second. I'm going to see the video of that and the police report.
Can you pull that video? I don't have my phone.
Your Honor, I have the video of the whole incident.
Is this ours?
Yes.
My phone.
Pull up that video.
We have it on the monitor if you want to see it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm about to move it. Let me park my car. Let me park my car. You can keep it up there. Why do you want to come? I don't give. Let me park my car.
I don't see any.
Your Honor, I have a video of the whole
Just a second. I don't see anything there.
Those are just clips.
Shh. I don't see anything there. Miss Jackson, I see 2 ladies fighting over the trash cans. I don't see her assaulting you.
It was the trash can she got me with.
I don't see it. I don't see her going like this into you 4 times. I don't see that. I don't see it. Now I'll look at a police report. That's your video. Do you see her shoving a trash can into 4 times?
You can see that they come together with both trash cans, but not much more.
Stupid. People acting stupid. Nonsense. Stupid.
Your Honor, I have the video of the whole incident of how it first started.
I'd like to see it.
She made a... Where's my pink phone?
I gave them all
pink phone.
Every angle of it.
Because she...
Pink phone.
She lied.
Don't speak. I'm not...
She made another false accusation saying that I was the one who put it in the middle of the street. I came, and she was the one who came first and started putting it in the middle of the street. And I'm going to find the video for you.
You know, I really don't care. Listen to me, Miss Hernandez.
Yes, ma'am.
Take your phone. I really don't care.
Okay.
I look there and I don't see an assault.
Okay.
I don't see an assault, and that's really all I was interested in.
Defendant Pamela Jackson is accusing her neighbor, Lynette Hernandez, of abusing her children. Lynette claims Pamela posted damaging content on her social media.
Okay. Miss Jackson, when we started out this case, I said to Miss Hernandez, in effect, don't be a big baby. You have to park your car. Learn to parallel park, and you can't tell somebody else that they can't park in front of their house. And you were absolutely right. Right? Mm-hmm. You owe her $5,000. I'm entering a judgment in her behalf of $5,000 for your erroneous call to Child Protective Services. That's my judgment. Don't do it again. Don't take. I'm speaking. I'm speaking. Hey, listen to me. Listen to me. I'm speaking. You showed me your best evidence. You said I have it all recorded. Why I called Child Protective Services. You showed me. There was nothing there in the videos you showed me.
Because this
is not a because. This is not a because. This is not a because. I also find what you posted on TikTok abhorrent.
What she posted was worse. And it's viral. You didn't even give me a chance to present
Just a second. The only thing that I am hearing are the calls to Child Protective Services and your assault. I didn't see the assault, but I saw Child Protective Services. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. Your counterclaims dismissed. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
I overheard a lot more than what was, and saw a lot more than what was being shown.
I got justice because you shouldn't waste resources, on something, on accusations, sick and false like that.
I wouldn't have all these cameras if she wasn't constantly harassing me, calling the police on me.
Everybody gets along except her. She's the problem.
She wants to become TikTok famous. When she realized her videos of defamation against my mother was getting a big hit, she was like, okay, I'm gonna keep this on.
I'm not trying. It just happened.
We've tried to ignore her. She's the one that keeps doing it.
There's been things that she's done, and it's just all out of pettiness.
Wait for the police to finally arrest her.
Thank you, Judy Justice.
So I have two comments.
Okay.
Because we've had lots of cases with regard to parking spaces, parking in the street, and that sort of stuff. And have neighbors start off wrong, usually because of something. This was a car thing. But you have to be sensitive to the limited resources of people who are supposed to protect children. And if you keep calling them over nonsense because it really emanated from a parking space, you touched my car, it's parked too close, that's not a tool.
Yeah.
That's not a tool. And we have to fortify that statement that it's not a tool to call a governmental agency that has limited resources because somebody's bumping into your car.
Yeah.
And there are ramifications of posting that sort of stuff without any modicum of proof. Mm-hmm. It's just because you're making up this
I was pretty
fantasy in your
outraged
head.
listening to that as well. Hearing, like you had said, I could speak to a friend or a family member at home and say, I've seen some weird things about my neighbor. I'm not sure if something weird is going on there. But those were concrete, seemingly factual statements that she was making about her neighbor that were inaccurate and, like you said, had no basis.
If true, she belongs in jail,
yeah.
Which is not true.
No.
In my judgment, just the limited contact that I had. They both behaved badly. I was talking about this Gen, whatever it is.
Oh, us Gen Z. You realize that's my generation as well.
Yeah, yes, it is. So,
go easy on us. Remember who raised us.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Probably part of it was us. But I heard a really funny story. We were talking about this entitlement, young people in entitlement. And one of my friends said, I went into a store, where they usually have one shoe out, and if you want the other one, you have to ask a sales associate to please get you the other shoe to prevent people from walking out with two shoes. So he went over to the sales associate. The place was relatively empty. He said to the sales associate, could I get the mate of this shoe? And this kid, who was about 25, 28 years old, looked like a schlump. His response to him was, why me? Why me? Why did you ask me? There are 4 other sales associates here who could get you the other shoe. Why did you pick me? Bizarre. Yeah. I'm praying for some sort of a miracle for this generation, some sort of an awakening. Anyway.
There's some good ones in the generation that might just save us.
There are some great ones.
So.
Just a minute. There are great ones. There are great ones. But there's a very unfortunate thing because neither one of these two people are moving.
Yeah.
Zachary Martin is suing his neighbor, Nancy Morrell. for property damage after his car was vandalized.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2151, Martin versus Morale.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Martin, you and the defendant are neighbors.
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been neighbors?
Moved into the subdivision in 2019.
That's how long you've been there?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know how long the defendant has been there?
I think 2014.
Is that right?
2017, Your Honor.
Oh, okay.
And where do you live in respect to one another? You want to go over there and show me?
I live in this house right here. Or I did. I don't anymore. This house right here. And she lives right here.
You sold your house?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and the defendant
She lives right here.
where the blue car is?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. This is sort of a circular area, and from the circular area, you pull into your driveway. Is that right? Okay. It is your claim that the defendant keyed your car.
Yes, ma'am.
And when did this happen?
January 22nd, 2022.
The defendant says that she did not key your car. She has a counterclaim. She claims that she was falsely arrested and held overnight in jail.
That is a lie.
But just a
Okay.
That's her claim, that she was falsely arrested, that she spent a night in jail. She had to hire a lawyer, did hire a lawyer after her lawyer requested several adjournments. You were not, at least physically, in the courtroom at the time of the last adjournment, and the case was dismissed. So let's go back to prior to January 22nd. I assume that if you're alleging that the defendant keyed your car, that you have some negative history with each other.
Yes, ma'am.
Starting when?
There are so many. I mean, it started out when we moved in the subdivision. They were nice at the beginning, no issues. And then the kids started having, her granddaughter lives with her.
Okay, how old is your granddaughter?
She's 9 now. She was 8.
Okay.
They started out having some issues, as kids do. I mean, you know, that happens.
You have a child of a similar age?
Yes, ma'am. She's 11 now. She was 9 or 10 when we lived there.
And the two children had an issue?
I mean, you know, kids argue.
No, I understand that. I'm not going into who was right and who was wrong in the kids' argument. I don't really care. But when did that argument between the two children spill over to the neighbors?
Well, I guess the final straw was Labor Day weekend of 21, the Sunday before the Labor Day. We came home late. It was about 7 o'clock. We were working, and we told Jillian we were going home for a little bit, and she said, I want to swim in the pool. I said, all right.
Jillian is your 10-year-old?
Yes, yes. And of course, she said, well, that's boring, Daddy. I want a friend to swim with me. So I said, okay, one friend. That's it, because your brother's going to watch you, and then we're leaving to go back to work. So she goes next door to Patrick's house, which is the next door neighbor, and she asked Patrick to come over and go swimming. He comes over. At the time, I didn't know this. At the time,
At the time, the defendant's granddaughter was there.
Yes.
At Patrick's house.
Yes.
Got it. So your daughter went over and invited Patrick to come and swim.
Right. And not
You had told her that she could have one friend in the pool, so Patrick left to come swimming, leaving your granddaughter alone.
Well, she had to go home.
She had to go home.
Yes.
She came home.
So just a second. Okay. That's what happened. Okay. You had a grandchild who had hurt feelings. I assume
she actually went over to go swimming. She thought she was invited too.
You had a child with hurt feelings.
And I went to ask what had happened.
Okay.
That's this big hoopla.
Okay. Now, your grandchild comes home. I assume she was upset. Was she crying?
Yes.
Okay. And that was about what time?
In the evening. I honestly can't remember.
Okay. And when she came home crying, tell me what you did.
Went out and, honey, what's wrong?
What did you do?
Are you okay?
Yes, and she told you what happened.
Said I went over to Jillian's. She invited us swimming. And when I got there, her dad said only one person could swim.
Okay.
So she came home.
Okay, and what did you do next?
That's not what happened.
I talked to her, calmed her down, and I went over and said, hey.
You know, just a second. You walked from your house, where the blue car is.
Yep, around the corner.
Did you take your granddaughter with you?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
She's lying.
And what? Shh. If you do that again, I'm just going to dismiss your case. Do you understand that? And you know, it's easy.
I got it.
This isn't my case. It's your case.
I know.
So you walked alone to his house. Did you knock at the door? Did you go outside? I want you to tell me exactly what you did.
I don't remember if I went to the front door, if I went to where the pool is, and I do believe Mr. Martin was out there.
Okay, so Mr. Martin was out there, and You said it in that kind of a calm tone?
What happened to my granddaughter? Why is she crying?
Well, she told you why she was crying when she was home. She told you she was crying because she went over there to swim, and Mr. Martin said you can only have one person swim with you.
Which is totally out of character. The children swim together all the time.
You mean at Mr. Martin's pool?
At Mr. Martin's pool, and if they need another adult.
Just a second.
I go.
So they swim all the time in Mr. Martin's pool, so you wanted to know what happened on this occasion when he said only one person can swim.
Yes.
And you said it in just the same kind of conversational tone that I'm talking in, is my question.
I was very calm at the beginning, yes.
Oh, okay. And so you said to him what happened, and what did he say to you?
I don't remember exactly. It was to the effect of his son was going to watch them, and he could only have one child in the pool.
Right, that he wanted his son to have responsibility of only watching one other child other than his sister.
Correct.
Right, well, that sounds reasonable.
And that's fine.
Just a second. So how did it escalate? He said, I only wanted one child in here. My son's going to watch the kids. We have to go back to work. And that should have been it. Why wasn't it?
I don't know.
So I walked back out and looked at the Pathfinder, and that's what I discovered, the scratch across the back. Bright white, so that indicates it's fresh. I told her while she was standing there, you're going to jail. I'm going to call the police.
Okay.
Zachary Martin claims his neighbor, Nancy Morrell, keyed his car and owes for the repairs. Nancy is countersuing for a false arrest and lawyer fees.
Now let's get to your version of what happened. Okay, so you said only one child. Her granddaughter went home. Her granddaughter, who's a little girl, is upset. Why can't I go swimming too? I got that. And?
This is a lie. Everything she told you was a lie.
Just a second.
She did not come to my house.
Just a second.
She did not come to my house.
If you say again it's a lie, I'm going to dismiss your case. Do you understand that?
Yes.
I asked you what happened.
She did not come to my house.
Okay.
Her daughter came to my house.
Just a second. You mean her granddaughter's mother?
Yes. I never talked to her.
Before my daughter went over, I had gone over.
She didn't.
Oh, no, just a second. Yeah. Now I don't believe you, Miss Morrell. Now I don't believe you, madam. I watched your eyes. I just watched it. Now uncross your arms. So, her daughter came over first.
No,
Yes.
I
Well,
went
she
over.
never-
I don't want to hear you.
She never came over. The daughter came over. She bypassed my front door and went to the side gate where the pool is. She told my son to go get me.
To go get you?
To go get me. I came out and she called me a jerk. You should let her swim in the pool. Blah. I just told my daughter, look, you can have one friend because your brother's watching you. It's not fair for him now to watch 3 kids. Just 2, that's all. I told her, I said, look, I don't know what you're talking about. I said she could have one friend and that's it. She proceeded to call me a jerk. She said some other choice words I'm not going to repeat, in which case I did cuss her out and told her to get off my property and not to come back again, anybody in her family, or I would file trespass charges.
Okay, and that was on the Sunday before Labor Day?
Yes, ma'am.
And when did this incident happen with your car?
January 22nd.
After that incident on Labor Day weekend, did you have any other contact with the defendant?
Yes.
When?
So I think it was right after Jillian's birthday on November the 21st. I think it was like a week, like December the 1st, I think. And this is really sick, but it got to the situation where she would watch my kid. And every time my kid would go to Aubrey's house or Patrick's house, she would take toys, she would unpack her stuff. And I told her, I said, look, you can't play with her. So they would wait 10 or 15 minutes till she got unpacked and get all comfortable, having a good time. She would send her granddaughter over there. She had to pack her stuff up and come home. She would come home crying many times. So then it got to the point where Patrick, he would come over to our house. He'd be over to our house all the time. They would get on trampoline, play video games, blah, blah, blah. So I was doing something one day and then the camera went off and I give me a load of my iPad. Here comes Nancy up my driveway. She knocks on the door and she says, can we play? And I said, no, you can't play. Get off of my property. File trespass charges if you come back. That was, the last time I interacted with her until she keyed the video.
Well, it's not my job to be judgmental in a social way, but I have to tell you, I would have handled it a little differently with her. She wasn't the one who behaved badly. I wouldn't visit her daughter's bad behavior on an 8-year-old. There are kids who live right around the corner from each other, and it seems to me that the bad behavior of a parent or a grandparent shouldn't impact on a child. The granddaughter is a nice little girl.
Well, I mean, if you say so.
Is she?
Well, she spread rumors about my daughter and said that, she told Aubrey that my daughter stole some of her toys, and that was a lie.
Okay. All right, well, it sort of started to get nasty. Now let's get back to the keying of the car. So that happened in January. So tell me about the January incident.
Okay, so she got up January 22nd. It's a Saturday. She decided to walk her dog. She's walked her dog.
Go over there. Show me what you saw.
Okay. So she decided to walk her dog, and so she walks up the sidewalk.
Well, you didn't see that.
No, not right here.
No, you didn't see that.
When she gets about right here, which is Patrick's house, the mailbox is right here, you can see in the video. That's when the cameras detect motion. That's when I get the alert. So I see her walking the dog, and she's walked her dog past my house many times, but never gotten that close to my vehicle. So immediately I thought something.
Where was your car?
My car is parked right here.
In the driveway?
Yes, ma'am. So she walks the dogs, and she is right beside the view. I mean, you can see in the video, you can see her right hand go up. So I immediately run out of the house. I have a truck parked right here. I looked at my truck. I thought maybe she did something to the truck. I looked at it, didn't see anything. I went back outside and I said, well, wait a minute, let me go back outside and look at the Pathfinder. So I walked back out and looked at the Pathfinder, and that's what I discovered, the scratch across the back. It's bright white, so that indicates it's fresh. I told her while she was standing there, you're going to jail, I'm gonna call the police.
Okay, step back. When you said to her, you're going to jail, I'm going to call the police, did she respond?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, now I'd like to see the video.
Okay. You can see as her hand goes up right there.
I'll take a look at it again. Is there any reason that you stopped behind his car? Is there any reason?
Stopped to sniff, I stopped with him.
You see her right hand right there.
I'm moving my arm as I walk.
Yes, and that's where the scratch is.
Okay, can I take a look at the photographs of the scratch, please? Okay, so based upon what you saw, you called the police. And based upon that, the police came, interviewed you, and viewed this tape.
Actually, I had contacted the police after he had yelled at me. He's a little incorrect. Could I show you where?
Sure.
I did walk my dog around here. His cars impede the sidewalk, so I moved. And I had completed my whole route over to about here, and he did indeed come out and yell at me. I caught a few words of it, said, I'm walking my dog, waved my arms, and continued on. Mm-hmm. That's not the first time he has yelled at me as I've been walking, and I went home and I filed an incident report, and I do have that.
Just a second.
The second time I've been walking and he's come out and yelled at me, it's very unnerving.
That's a lie.
We're very far.
Sorry.
It's going to cost you getting your car fixed. It's something you don't understand.
I have it.
Something you don't understand. I'm allowing both of you to tell me your sides of the story. You can't say that's a lie. Do you understand?
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
not cutting you off. I let you tell me your story, sir. I let you tell me what happened, and I want to give the defendant the same opportunity. You can't interrupt her. Now you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I will tell you what I don't understand, Miss Morell. You see, if I had got into a kerfuffle with him, which you had, because he said you and your granddaughter, which I actually think was socially wrong with regard to your granddaughter, but with regard to you, he doesn't want you there, right? I wouldn't walk up a cul-de-sac to go past his house. If it were me, I see plenty of space where you can walk. You can cross the street from your house and walk in the street the other way. And then when you come back, you can walk the other way. You don't have to go inside that cul-de-sac to walk anywhere near his house. That's looking for trouble.
Can I just say something?
About what?
The trend that another gentleman, he tried to accuse of scratching his car.
Are you her husband?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm going to let you stand up now, and you're going to show me where he accused somebody else of keying his car in the back in January. Show me.
Zachary Martin is accusing his neighbor, Nancy Morell, of keying his car. Nancy is countersuing for a false arrest and lawyer fees.
So you have a counterclaim, and your counterclaim is for false arrest. He didn't arrest you. The police arrested you. And the police arrested you based upon what they believed, after looking at that video, was probable cause that a crime was committed and probable cause to believe you participated in the commission of that crime, which is vandalism. He didn't make a citizen's arrest. The police made an arrest. And not only did they make an arrest, but they were serious enough to have you get a lawyer. Your counsel went in. I assume your new counsel asked for an adjournment. I assume your new counsel, you were there.
I believe so. I was not there, ma'am. I waited out in the hall, and my lawyer represented me.
Fine. So I assume that you knew that your lawyer was going to ask for an adjournment. The lawyer didn't prepare you for trial, did he?
No.
No.
Your Honor.
So he was. I'm not listening to you.
As a witness, can I just say something?
About what?
The trend that another gentleman, he tried to accuse of scratching his car. We have evidence of that.
Just a second. That I'll listen to in a minute.
Okay.
The second time your case was on, did you go into court or did you wait outside?
I waited outside.
Then if you waited outside, you knew again your lawyer was going to ask for an adjournment. The first time the case was on, did you attend the court hearing?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you inside the court?
Yes, ma'am.
She was not there.
She was outside. Yes, ma'am.
The second time when the case was adjourned, were you in court?
Yes, ma'am.
Was she there?
Yes, ma'am.
Outside or inside?
She was outside.
Did her lawyer ask for an adjournment?
Continuance.
A continuance?
Yes, ma'am.
Same thing?
Yes, ma'am.
Did it happen more than twice?
Yes.
On the third time you went to court, did you go to court?
Yes, ma'am.
Was she in court?
Yes, ma'am.
Inside or outside?
She was outside, and what happened, I had sold the house, and we moved an hour away.
Just a second. You were there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, I'm going to let you stand up now, and you're going to show me where he accused somebody else of keying his car in the back in January. Show me. No. Well, this says that on January 18th, which was 4 days before this incident, you reported another vandalism to a Nissan Titan.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that the car that you saw her key or believe she keyed?
No, ma'am, that's a different vehicle.
That's what I thought. That's a different vehicle. That has nothing to do with this car.
Well, the gentleman that he accused of, he didn't even have arrested or didn't want to press charges.
Just a second. Okay, so now I'm going to let you stand up, and I'm going to give you my end of the riot act. Because if this is what you're deluding yourself with, I'm going to tell you. He didn't have video of anybody on the 18th around his car. In your wife's case, sir, he had prior experience with her. She had no business walking right in front of the house when there are plenty of other places to walk. If they are not on great terms, he had every right to call the police, show them the video, and they had every right to arrest her. Do you understand that?
I understand that, but
Good.
that doesn't prove that she scratched the vehicle. That doesn't prove that.
Just a second. That's what a trial is for, sir. That was up to a jury. What your wife is suing him for is for false arrest. He didn't arrest her. The police arrested her. Now sit. May I see the invoice? Have you had the car fixed?
Yes, ma'am. I have an estimate, and I also have the police report.
I'd like to see both. I'd like to see both. So the police officer indicated that after you were told about what the officer saw on the video, you've decided to make no more statements about the incident, and you were placed under arrest for malicious damage. The officer also reported that the scratch on the back of the car was fresh because there were fresh paint chips on the street that were red paint chips. There's a red car that came off that car, which demonstrates to the eyes of any layperson that since there's traffic back and forth there, if there are fresh scratches and fresh paint, it means it just happened. So your counterclaim for false arrest and anything attendant thereto is dismissed.
I did not do it, Your Honor.
Right, well, okay, maybe. The case was dismissed. That doesn't mean you're entitled to money from him. Police had probable cause to believe that a crime was committed and probable cause to believe that you committed that crime. The rest of it is up to a jury. So you have a beef with the police department, not with him. They had an absolute right to arrest you. I'm not giving you $2,500 for this scratch, sir. Get it out of your mind. Do you understand?
Why not?
It's not a $2,500 scratch.
I mean, that's an estimate from a body shop.
$500. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
Well, she was incorrect because I did not do it.
You know, we took an oath when we went inside to tell the truth, and she lied repeatedly, and she got mad at me when I said that's a lie, but it was a lie.
That he saw me walking by and looked at the car and said, oh.
The next day I called the police to see what happened, and they informed me they arrested her.
I thought they were there because I had called about him harassing me, and then all of a sudden they just said, you scratched his car. And I said, no, I didn't.
I think she should have stayed in jail longer.
They placed me in custody.
The lady does nothing but lie. She's a liar.
It was horrible.
I actually thought his behavior when the defendant brought her granddaughter over subsequently and said, can't she play? Because evidently there are 2 or 3 kids who live close by and they always play together. All of a sudden, the granddaughter is excluded from that play. There's a certain amount, as a parent, he should have had some sense of that and said, well, of course they can play, but your daughter owes me an apology. You know, if you're behaving like an adult, your daughter owes me an apology. I tried to do a responsible thing. I didn't want to let my son watch more than one stranger child in a pool, which is absolutely smart because, God forbid, something happened to one of those children, they would certainly turn around and sue him.
Yeah.
So he did the responsible thing. Was it hurtful to the other child? Yes. According to him, his daughter was playing at Patrick's house. She came over and said, you can't come, because they're little children. They don't understand. You can't come. Only one person can come. But you're a grown-up. So understand how that could be hurtful to an 8-year-old. Anyway, I think that they both behaved badly, and he's very smart to have moved out of that.
Out of the cul-de-sac, out of the neighborhood.
Yeah, could you understand why she would walk her dog there?
Yeah, I agreed with you that if you've already had even just a hint of distaste with any of your neighbors, I just walk on the other side of the street, just avoid it. And this seems like a perfectly avoidable house in the cul-de-sac.
You actually have to
go into his loop in order to make the loop. So I don't know. I think both sides questionable, but I'm glad that he got something that you were willing to give him for his car.
Yeah, get your car fixed reasonably, and the police absolutely had a right to arrest her.
Yeah.
There was a complaint. They looked at the complaint. They saw the damage. They saw it was fresh. They saw her right there on the video. They had a history of bad feelings between them. They had an absolute right to arrest her.
Yeah.
Các bạn ơi, hôm nay thì mình sẽ tô màu cho bức tranh về cô gái này thì hóa trang thành một phù thủy rất là đáng yêu. Chúng mình sẽ cùng nhau tô màu nhé. Giờ mình sẽ tô màu cho chiếc mũ trước nha. Giờ mình sẽ tô phần mái tóc nha.
Giờ mình sẽ tô màu cho bộ đồ. Giờ thì tô nó rất dày nha. Hôm nay thì mình cũng đã hoàn thiện xong trong bức tranh tô màu. Đây chính là thành quả của mình nhé. Video của mình đây cũng đã kết thúc rồi. Nếu mọi người yêu thích xem video của mình thì hãy like, share và subscribe nha.